to actually catch and kill himself after, of course, the mother topi chased his mother off the young lamb. So it was quite a hectic morning that some of you would have got to enjoy and experience with us, with these two on the hunt. What it means is that I think Mom is still quite hungry, whereas he's okay. So even though they're snoozing now, I think they could well get up and take us on a hunt a little bit later. So it's Miali and her boy. I'm not sure exactly how old either of them are. A beautiful day here in the Mara. There's been some wonderful cloud formations rolling over us. There's a bit of game in the area, some zebra over there, and they haven't had too much to kind of tempt them and tantalize them during the course of the day. We've been with them since essentially about 7 o'clock this morning. We did leave them briefly to go follow up on some topi that were taking their kids out of a dangerous area, and it ended up providing us with another cheetah that killed a reed buck. Sadly, not while we were watching them, while we were looping ahead to try and catch up with her. So it's been a great morning and still great prospects. They've moved a little bit during the day, but not a huge deal. They've probably moved about a mile from where they caught the topi. Now, for those of you who may be joining for the first time, it's very important that I remind all of you that this is a totally live experience. We are sending the broadcast straight from this vehicle to you, wherever you may be in the world. And what we would love is to hear from you. Any questions, comments, you can hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or just write a comment in the box, depending on what platform you are watching on. So please do get a hold of us. It would be great to hear from you. And my name is Scott, and I'm teamed up with Manu on camera. So I think that's all the formalities done for the start of the safari. Now all we need to do is put on our patient pants and hope these cheetah don't take too long to get up. Another thing that I should mention is that this afternoon is a first of its kind, due to the fact that we have started the safari 1 hour earlier than normal in the Masai Mara. So it'll just be Taylor and myself for the first hour, and then Tristan and, actually I'm not sure, I don't have a clue. It could be, I'm guessing Tristan and Noel could be out and about in the Sabi sands in South Africa on Juma. So they'll be joining the safari in about an hour's time, and they will continue the last half an hour of the safari alone. So we will be contributing the first 3 hours, and they will be contributing the last 2.5 hours, with a total of a 5.5 hour safari, I think. Maybe a 4 hour safari. Wonderful. So let's hope that it all works out well, and that you enjoy the time changes and the slightly different way we're going about things here. It's just to try and really capitalize on each wilderness area, because they are in different time zones rather than sticking to one time. Very good. Now we are crossing the Mara Reserve on the eastern side of the Mara River. Taylor, on the other hand, is on the western side. Why don't you go and see what her plans are there?
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the windy sunset safari here in the Mara Triangle, like Scott said, on the western side of the Mara River. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Jahawi, and you may notice that we're obviously moving. It's not the wind blowing us around today, funny enough, but we have set our sails and we're on our way down to the river. In fact, back to the same spot that we were this morning. So that's where we're going to be going, and hopefully those zebra that were a little bit spooked by, I think, a number of different things would have turned and gone back down towards the water. Maybe we'll get to see a crossing, or perhaps we'll get the elephants going back and forth. Who really knows what we're going to see out there today. But for those of you that have just jumped on, welcome again. Hashtag Safari Live. If you'd like to ask us any questions on Twitter, or you can talk to us via the YouTube chat too. Right. It's always a bit quiet in this stretch. I'll never forget when I first came down the escarpment road for the first time in one of the sunrise safaris with Scott, and to make sure there's no cars behind me, there were just zebra, wildebeest everywhere. It was incredible. It looked like somebody had gone copy and paste and just put animals pretty much all over this area. You couldn't really even see the grass anymore. And now you have to drive a good 20 or 30 minutes before you start to see game. But I think we're going to be lucky by the river because it is slightly sheltered as well, I suppose, which depends on which direction the wind is going. That would make a difference. And maybe if it's sheltered enough, the animals would have come down there. I'm convinced there were lions in the bushes somewhere, because there was some topi that were also coming down to the water's edge, and then they got spooked by something and they were running quite a bit. So someone's in that thicket that shouldn't be there. Well, that the mammals wouldn't like to have around, or the herbivores. Right, what else? What else is happening today? We went for a hike. If anyone is interested, it was lovely, and Essentia and I went. We safari parkoured just a little bit, not too much today. That was nice. But further up, we went higher up from where we had Kirst, who's directing today. She says that she's very jealous. She's the original safari parkour queen. That's what we call it now, Kirst. We've actually given it a name. We were still undecided when we started our adventures as to what it would be called, but it's lots of fun. So in case now you're wondering what on earth is safari parkour, what word have you made up now, Taylor? You leap from rock to rock. That's great. It's like running, like trail running, but you've really got to concentrate because you're constantly trying to pick a route. So it's a bit like a puzzle, I suppose, but really quickly. And you don't get to, well, once you've chosen your piece, it's the piece you've chosen. Otherwise, you slip into the water and you can hurt yourself. And then we rock climb and we slide down rocks. It's very adventurous. Kirst, we've actually taken it right up a notch. And it's a pity you're not here so we can make another video because that would be hilarious. Alright. Miserable. Not even our elephants are around today. I thought they would be on their way back and we'd catch them heading towards the heading towards the escarpment. Oh, there was a big load of school buses that came through as well. We were commenting on that as we were going down the escarpment. About 4 big buses, which is quite nice. That you are seeing the younger generations coming through and seeing the wildlife while it's still around. And then I was telling Jar about how I remember going on safari when I was little with school as well. I thought I knew everything. I must have been such an annoying kid. I don't think I would have wanted to be my friend. But yes. Oh, we've got a tractor coming up. They're doing some road maintenance in the triangle as well. Working very hard. Hopefully the short range just don't wreck all the hard work that they're about to put in. That normally happens. Typically after you fix a road, you'll get a flash flood. The same thing when you clear a road. Elephants will come through and just put it in the condition that they prefer it, with lots of trees falling over. Okay, well, I'm going to need to do some overtaking with this tractor that's in front of us. I'm going to send you back across to Scott, who's actually got an animal.
Just take it slow and let Mother Nature hopefully deliver something for her to view in due course. But I'm happy to attempt in keeping the safari afloat until she gets a little bit luckier. It can be tough across that side of the river at the moment. But I've got a feeling she's going to get a surprise jackpot sighting, maybe a serval plucking a bird out of the sky, or something along those lines. That would be a nice surprise for her. It's really interesting, these animals. I mean, you try and get an idea of what they're going to do and when they're going to move, but it's just so hard to tell. Hello, Thor. You'd like to know how many litters can one cheetah have? Well, if a female is a very successful mother, she could give birth to her first cubs at around 3 years of age, and then she would take it, roughly 2 years from giving birth until those first cubs leave. And that is, of course, if they don't all get killed, which is often the case. So then that takes her to 5 years, 7 years, 9 years, 11 years, 13 years. Let's say, 13 years would be a fairly good innings for a female cheetah. They can live longer than that. and in the wild, but let's say that on average she could raise 5 litters to adulthood. However, what more often happens, is that they often lose litters, so they could give birth to a lot more litters than that. Just about every 6 months they could just about give birth, because it's only a 3-month gestation period, and very often immediately after losing cubs, they will come into season to try and raise another litter. So, I mean, there's no set limits, and I guess certain individuals will be more fertile than others, especially in towards the later years of their life. It would be an interesting statistic to know of the most successful female cheetah of recent years in the Mara. I'm told Malaika is one of the worst. She's only raised, I think these will be her 4th or 5th cubs to adulthood. There are 2 boys, and I think she's given birth to 25 cubs. So probably that's around 5 different litters. I'm guessing 5 or 6 different litters. But only, I think, 2 individuals from separate litters, and now possibly these 2 boys that she's currently with. This isn't Malaika, by the way. This is Miale. I'm not too sure how successful she's been, nor how old she is. So if anybody can furnish us with some interesting information on Miale, that would be greatly appreciated. I've had no network where I am, so I haven't been able to do any research on her today. Very good. Well, let's send you back to Taylor and tell her that I am hoping she is going to have a serval plucking a bird out of the sky at some point during this afternoon's drive. Thank you.
Scott, thank you so much for the good wishes. I hope that we have a serval plucking a bird out of the sky too. Let's hope for that. Who knows what we might have, but for now we've got elephants that have painted themselves in mud. Well, at least one of them has. The others did a very poor attempt at covering themselves after this nice hot day. This actually gives me good hope, because I think if these guys have covered themselves in mud, maybe it's been hot enough to take a little dip in the Mara River. And perhaps they just weren't close enough to the Mara River to go for a swim, so they opted for the mud version. I wonder if this is not the same herd of elephants we had, the last herd of elephants we had just before drive ended this morning. Can you remember? Did anybody take any screenshots? It'd be quite nice to know and see what route they walk. We're not particularly far away, and elephants can travel a huge distance. No, Scott. Scott wants to know if these are the elephants with the hoses. Stop it, because then I can't stop laughing. I don't know why I find that so funny, but it really tickles my fancy, and it's a deep giggle, let me tell you. Like, I actually just want to start crying, and my cheeks go so red. It's a good laugh. I don't know why. Anyway, and Shamson actually posted a nice tale about why they're called trunks and not hoses, but I haven't been able to read it because we haven't had Wi-Fi in camp today, so it didn't open. So if I get a chance along this route, I will open it and read the article, and then I should tell you what the article said, because it could be quite funny, I think. Anyways, but it's a beautiful herd of elephants nonetheless. There's a beautiful big girl. The girl on the left is so impressive. She looks like a picture that Tristan took of an elephant once, but the only difference is that the soil was more sort of red and was oxidated rather than just this brown cotton soil mud that I presume the elephant was digging around in. And it was such a magnificent picture too. She's got beautiful tusks, very even. Oh, lovely. And you can see how hot it is as well. It's ridiculously hot. Speaking of elephants, Jim, you're wondering if Maurice is on the safari. Maurice is here. Here is Maurice. Maurice only comes out on request now. Hello, Maurice. Kim with a K, not Jim. Sorry, Kim, my bad. So here's Maurice. Maurice, unfortunately, has a problem. Most of you know this, but for the new viewers, Maurice gets a big head. Like elephants do. Elephants have really big heads, and unfortunately he lets the fame get to it. So I have to lock him away in a cupboard to bring him back down to size again. That's what happens. And speaking of which, he said something really ugly. So we shall put him away. Can't deal with that kind of negativity in my life. Right, let's go. Let's race to the river. We don't want to miss any crossings, and if I keep dawdling, that's exactly what we might do. But this will be a good road for a serval later. There is one that hangs around here, actually in this area. I reckon if I off-roaded and just zigzagged around, I'd probably find the serval somewhere in there, but we won't be doing that. We'll wait till it comes out tonight. And I haven't seen a serval hunt yet, which is surprising, seeing as I managed to get serval hyena interaction. I mean, who even does that? And I would like to see maybe a serval catching a robust gerbil. How does that sound? Sound exciting? I think so. Okay, I'm going to send you across to Scotty again. And Scotty, seeing as though you wish me well with my serval, I hope that your cheetah wake up.
Oh, thanks, Taylor. Thanks for repaying me with positive thoughts for the afternoon. To be honest, Manu and I have been so lucky the last few days. We could not wish or ask or expect anything more from these speedsters. We have had some incredible moments and chases in our 3-day adventure across the river. This morning definitely being the ultimate, and I think it was probably the most exciting and well-documented kill that I have been involved in to date. It just all came together so well. Manu was an absolute wizard on the camera because there was a million things going on at once. And we were fortunate we had a low angle. It all just turned out like a fairy tale. Not for the topi, but for the cheetah. And anything more will be a bonus. There's been no word whatsoever on the 5 musketeers today, which is quite interesting. So they managed to fly below the radar of just about everyone. There's quite an extensive radio network that a lot of the minibuses have and share info with one another. And we have been chatting with a lot of the guides. And we've also been really improving our information kind of gathering and knowing who's reliable and who we can count on for providing us with info. So we are going to get ourselves into better positions in the coming months. When we first arrived here, we kind of didn't know who was who and what was what, but we're slowly kind of piecing the puzzle together. So the next few months leading up to the next migration are certainly going to, I think, provide us with even more action than we've had up till now. We're also getting to know the area as well. So when we hear an animal's at X spot, we kind of know where it is, whereas before it was really difficult. There's no names on maps or anything like that. So it gets, well, it was very, very tricky and a lot of guesswork and driving around in circles in the initial months. So yeah, no sign of the boys today. Malika was in and around double crossing still. Ah, wonderful. We've got some info through from Kiri. Thank you so much for your assistance. And that's French for assistance. And sorry, it's been a long day out here. You've said that she's only ever raised 2 boys to adulthood in the past, and I wonder if those 2 were from the same litter or from separate litters. That would be interesting to know. And she was born in 2008, which makes her 9 years old. And isn't that interesting? And I wonder how many litters she would have given birth to in that time. I'm guessing at least 5 or 6, due to the fact that she didn't have the responsibility of raising any cubs to adulthood. And what you'll often find is if they've lost their cubs anywhere within 6 months, well, they'll often lose their cubs probably in the first 6 months of their life. From 6 months onwards, the cubs' chances of surviving increase dramatically, but it still means the mother has to look after them, which will prevent her raising any other cubs. So I'm guessing most of her cubs she lost when they were very young, and therefore could well have given birth to multiple litters in her career. Thank you so much again, Kiri. It's wonderful how we can all kind of work together on the safaris, and my filing cabinet is a little bit cluttered at the moment, so it's wonderful that we can all share info. It's also such a large area that it's almost been a bit of a daunting task to try and work out who everyone is and try and learn everyone. It's not like Juma, where you've only got a few people to get to know, people, animals. Here we've got a lot more that we would be required of knowing, and it'll come in time. Hello, Tristan. You would like to know what are the shrubs that they're sleeping under called, and I don't have the faintest idea. I do apologize for that. One thing that has been tricky for us to get to know is the smaller things. We've been focusing on a lot of the action and kind of high-profile predators since we've been in the Mara, and haven't spent much time going around with any of the local guides who would be able to help us work out what all these things are. So I do not have the faintest or foggiest idea of what kind of a bush it is. My botany in the Mara is lacking. It's something that I need to work on at some point. It'll have to be when I get back next year in March. I've only got this afternoon, and tomorrow will be my last full day here, and then I will be heading off to South Africa, which is going to be great. Looking forward to getting home as much as I have loved being in Kenya. It's time for some friends and family. Kiri, thank you so much for, again, some more information on Miale and her 2 boys that she managed to raise to adulthood in 2016, that were both from the same litter, which means that this obviously was her next. It would have had to have been her next litter that she gave birth to. She could well have given birth to 3 or 4. Who knows what would have happened to them. But at least she's kind of, at this stage, raised 2 litters, or at least members from 2 litters to adulthood in a row. So maybe she has learnt the tricks of the trade and how to keep young cheetah cubs alive. And hopefully she'll be able to get a few more litters raised to adulthood in the next few years. Also, what would be wonderful if she wouldn't mind if we kind of spied on her while she was romancing whichever male she chooses. It could well be the musketeers, because they seem to be dominant over quite a large area that she moves through, as that is something that we have never managed to share with you guys on all the years that Safari Live has been up and running. Lots of lion mating, lots of leopard mating, but never once have we got cheetahs mating on camera. I'm sure in the coming months, Brent or Taylor or Jamie, who are going to be the 3 guides based in the Mara, I'm sure one of them are going to get lucky with some fascinating cheetah interactions. We haven't had any cheetah-on-cheetah interactions since we've been here, be it males fighting or females sizing one another up, or males and females making love. Very good. We are going to send you off back to Taylor, who has found some pigs.
Oh no, I'm so sad. There's a car that's driving very fast. I think it's going to scare our piggies. No, come back. Okay, let's try and get them again. Okay. This guy's ready to push me off the road. Hello. Love Kenya so much. I just love Africa. Okay, wait, they're back. We just had that one little piggy was actually rubbing its bottom on some of the harder mud, which was so funny. But then, of course, it stops. You know, the animals always do that when they're live. They're so cheeky. But anyways, they haven't run away from us this time, which is quite nice. They're now relaxed. Let's see if it's going to do it again. We try and spot the others. No, they're all just grazing now. They're copying the adults. I was hoping we were going to see them rolling around the mud wallow. There's nothing quite as incredible as seeing warthogs. Well, actually, it puts a smile on your face. And today I'm all about making you smile with cuteness, with animals just doing spectacular things, hopefully. And just because it's a Monday, and some of you might be having a bad Monday, so we'll try and cheer that up. And if you're sitting there at work and you're still frowning while you're watching these little pigs as they try to graze, then there's no hope for you. Then I don't know how to make you smile. And that one is desperately trying to use the luxury facilities. I think it's struggling a little bit. You'll get there. But it's very sweet. Now come and wallow in the mud, please. Who remembers that incredible sighting we had? Where was it? Cheetah cut line, but in Chitwa, where my favorite warthog that chases Gwen around every now and then charged in and went sliding in the mud. That was such a funny day. It was such a great sighting. He was then also chasing off a rival male, which was quite nice. But this girl's got a few little babies. She's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 youngsters. That's good. And they seem to be doing quite well. They're not too tiny. They're a couple of weeks old already. You can see that white sort of fluffy bits now on the sides of their faces starting to really show. It's going to get longer and longer. They almost need someone to twist it out, like you would twist your moustache, to make them look a bit scarier. Oh, but that is precious. Okay, let me try and get another position quickly, so we can have a look. Oh, Hummercorp, I'm going to disturb you. I do apologize. Maybe you'll stay. Actually, I have a story. Remind me to tell you the story of the Hummercorp, what just happened. I'm just going to sneak up to these pigs, though, because I think we might actually get a closer view. It's okay, piggies. I think you see lots of vehicles. Here we go. 2 girls. Now, Paula, you were wondering about you're wondering how long do these little pigs stay with their mothers. Actually, not for very long. Look at those swollen mammary glands. Oh my goodness. Sorry, girl. So, Paula, I would say these little piggies, when they're about 6 months old, you won't believe how big they are. They're pretty much half the size of what the female would be if they've been eating well. And I think here in the Mara, they grow particularly quickly with all the grass that's around. So, I think soon after that, between 6 months and a year, we find that they go off on there. And they might stay with their mothers for a little while longer. Some will stay with I mean, it's not uncommon to see rather large groups of warthogs where you have 3 or 4 females and their youngsters. So they're fairly social. And you'll see the same thing with young males. They tend to group up as well. And that will happen just after they separate. Sorry, we've got lots of vehicles coming through here. I'm going to have to reposition again. Let me just quickly try and get around. I don't know where I'm really supposed to go because I'm not going to go in this mud. Hi there. Let me try and get another view. Don't run from us, piggies! Now no one could disturb us. I'm just going to pull off right off the side of the road and risk getting stuck in the mud because these guys are so sweet. And look how close they are. So I wonder if she had 6 and 1 is unfortunately just not made it because she's doing well with 5. I think that's good going. That looks like the runt. That's the littlest little pig out of the 5 of them, in fact. And they're all, most of the time, there's a runt that's just slightly smaller than the rest. I hope you can run fast. Now, Willow, you're wondering what is the largest warthog litter I've ever seen? 6. That's the most I've ever seen with a female. I don't think I've seen any more than that, and it's quite common. And, yeah, that's really all. Oh, we saw the 6 tiniest little piglets, and I said I was going to show you a photo, which I will keep my promise to when we stop. I will actually try and find it. I'm pretty sure they were newborn. They were born that day. They were pink. They didn't even look like they had much hair on them. They were so sweet. So I must find a photo of that. That was from one of the sows that's been hanging around on the escarpment road. I think we put her on camera a few times. Oh, they're so precious, these little things. I think they might live near here. I don't think they'd be too far from home now. It's starting to get it's been quite cloudy most of the day, so it's going to get darker earlier than normal. There's also a Tommy just sitting at the back, and the mom is leading the little ones around now. I love watching them enter and exit their burrows. That's always quite cool to see. Okay, let's move up. But let's keep to our plan. We need to get to the river. Now, planes and trains, sorry, I'm trying to get out of the mud quickly. You're wondering how hard is it for them to survive in the wild? Well, when a warthog gets to an adult, it's does pretty well, in fact. Can you believe it? They're tough creatures, and they take on leopards and cheetah. They will give a lion a run for its money, even a pack of wild dogs. So they're hardy, tough animals. But until they can get to that stage, it's a pretty tough life. Snakes will eat them, birds of prey, lions love it. Cheetah that are just learning to hunt, perfect. You know, all these different animals out here would try and go for them. So they do have a lot against them, unfortunately. So out of a litter, you might find that only 1 or 2 survive, which is very sad. And that's why warthogs have to have so many. So they've got a better chance of survival. Even though they are pretty common, they're valuable, so they play valuable roles within the ecosystem. And like most of the herbivores out here, they supply food to a lot of animals, especially when animals migrate. So when the wildebeest leave, when the zebra herds become slightly smaller, they're not all in massive groups anymore. The lions are hunting predominantly lions are hunting warthogs. That's what they're going for, and we've seen that now. We've seen that now that the wildebeest are here. That's always what they're going for. Brent's had a sighting. I've had the sausage tree pride stalking warthogs. I cannot tell you how many times. I've had other females in the marsh going for them. So it seems to be their favorite food. So, and I love them because they're in the ugly 5 as well. I just love them because, you know, you don't really want to mess with a warthog. Like I said, they'll give you a bit of a run for your money. I'm trying to think, we're not too far away from the river. We've probably got another, trying to guess now. I drive like this, maybe another 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll be there. And maybe we'll have a look around for Scar as well. He could be down that side. I haven't heard of any confirmed sightings of him though, but I also haven't seen too many people, well, where I've been driving. Okay, well, we're going to race now, and hopefully the next time you see us, we'll be at the water's edge with the hippos fighting and elephants crossing. Scott's playing the patience game, and maybe as it cools down, the cheetah are going to get up and do something.
For now, it looks like they are in no rush to do anything. And that's the young boy who's got his head up. He's actually been showing more signs of life than his mother. And this is kind of the not stereotypical, but the typical pose that cheetah like to adopt when resting. They kind of just use their shoulder as a pillow, that way keeping their head elevated and easy to scan around and look not only for prey, but also for possible threats like lion, hyena, and the like. As you can see, some flies are bothering that guy, so he's got the old ear twitch going, and his belly is sufficiently filled with topi. His mother, on the other hand, is not full-bellied, and she actually looked hungrier than him to start the morning off, and it's getting to a stage of their relationship where he's going to be out-competing her at kills and being able to feed on more of the kill faster than she can, and possibly just steal some from her because he's bigger than her. So he's looking very comfortable. It must be said he did a very good job swooping in to catch the baby topi in and amongst all the chaos and turmoil. Francis in Israel, wonderful to have you on safari with us. You would like to know how long did it take for her to find him? And what I think actually happened, and I cannot be certain, but this is my theory, is that the boy was being very naughty and keeping quiet when he heard his mother's contact calls because he's greedy. So eventually, when he finished the kill, he came back and started calling, and she was literally looking in the opposite direction and then swiveled her head around, which means she heard him call back, and then they started running towards one another. And it was probably, I would say, 15 minutes or 20 minutes after the kill took place. I was fascinated that she didn't actually know he was there, because they literally ran past one another. As she got chased by the topi, he ran in to catch and dispatch the baby. So it was all quite interesting and took me by surprise, that is for certain. But yeah, they reunited. She sniffed his face, smelt the blood, cleaned it a bit for him, and then they continued to move around looking for other possible prey, but didn't really come across anything suitable until they got to this spot where they decided to snooze. And I think it's fair to say they've got a bit of a walk ahead of them before they get to any food, so it's not like there's any immediate tempting prey items nearby. Cane and train, or cane and train, the cane train. Are you South African? Because the cane train is a terminology used for drinking a certain beverage that makes you go slightly crazy. And you'd like to know if there's any chance that this young boy could take over his mother's territory when he grows up. And no, there's very little chance of that happening because she actually doesn't have a territory. She's got more of a home range. The females are floaters. They don't actively advertise and mark their territory, nor will they fight with other females over territory, which is interesting for big cats because lions and leopards certainly do, or at least the females of those species. He will have to compete with other males. He may join forces with another young male to form a coalition, and he could well end up a long distance from here because it'll take a few years of him flying below the radar, trying to find a patch of land where there are no dominant males before he in fact is big enough and strong enough to become dominant himself. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. And also how long he lingers around. I've never seen cheetah kind of raise cubs to adulthood and then see the interesting interactions. Usually, with leopards definitely, the cubs will try and lurk around as much as they can close to their mother in order to be able to capitalize on free kills or easy kills that their mother makes. That's definitely the case with leopard. With young male lions, it's probably also similar. They lurk around the pride for as long as they physically can before their fathers will oust them completely. And I'm guessing cheetah may be the same. They may have a kind of gradual breakup, or who knows, maybe just one day they part ways and never see one another again. I guess there's all manner of variables out here. That, I guess, is the key to remember when answering or listening to any question about anything wild. They don't follow a textbook, and very often there are exceptions to the rule. What has Manu spotted? Some zebras. And is that a Grant's gazelle? Yeah, I can't. It looks like a Grant's. It doesn't have that black body line, but the next one does, it appears to have. Definitely some topy there. Cheetah of this size, like the taste of topy. Tommies. No, they are all Tommies, sorry, they're not Grants. The Grant's gazelle lacks that horizontal black stripe along their abdomen. So that is definitely an option. However, it must be said, at this time of the year, with so many youngsters around, be it young topy, Thompson's gazelle, even eland yesterday, a baby eland caught the wrath of the musketeer coalition, I think a lot of the predators will be almost focusing on looking for youngsters as opposed to the adults, which are generally harder to catch. Beautiful. Look at that. Heat haze off in the distance. Manu and I were hoping our final kind of wish list for this trip would be to either film a hunt in heat haze. That's just something that always looks wonderful with hunts that occur during hot hours of the day through that heat haze, and or in the rain. So we haven't got a good kill yet in the rain. It'll be nice to have the predators and the prey slipping and sliding. Hi, Kristen. You'd like to know if cheetah are spread all over the Mara, and yes, they certainly are spread out all over the Mara, but it definitely seems that there is a higher density on the eastern side of the river where we are now, compared to where Taylor is on the western side of the river in the Mara Triangle concession or conservancy. It could just be that they're harder to find across that side of the river. There's some thicker vegetation and ordinarily quite a lot longer grass on that side of the river. So maybe it is just that they're harder to find, but I'm guessing that the highest population in the Mara is here in the reserve and in the surrounding conservancies. They do have decent cheetah populations there as well. So, I mean, we've had cheetah right below our camp all over the triangle side, but just not as frequently as we seem to be able to catch up with them here. Hello, Kat Noel. You would like to know, where are king cheetahs located? I'm not sure at the moment if there are any king cheetahs living in the wild, and what you'll find is a lot of them that you see have actually been bred specifically because of their genetic, not mutation, but because of that recessive gene that causes them to have essentially a more melanistic coat, a blacker coat than normal, where a lot of their spots will join up. They're incredible looking animals, but I'm not too sure when and if ever there've ever been any king cheetah in the Mara, and I think it's fair to say in most wild ecosystems they're not very, very common, and I think they've been bred in captivity to create the populations that you see. If anyone can furnish us with information as to where there is a wild king cheetah roaming, please do. We'll start our drive there immediately and just hope there's network when we get there. Which I've never in all my time heard of wild king cheetah. I'm sure they have existed at some point in time because, of course, the gene was there before they were domesticated. Not domesticated, but kind of kept in captivity where their breeding can be more easily monitored and manipulated. It's the same as white lions. You do get them in the wild, but only in very, very few places, mainly in and around the Timbavati, all the way towards Satara, in and along that kind of latitude. And I think there's 2 or 3 white lions living in the wild at the moment. But they're not common. Whereas in captivity, there are plenty of them because it's very easy to manipulate the breeding. Interestingly, there's also a few black leopards floating around. There's one that's being photographed in India at the moment. They are getting some incredible pictures of it. Seriously beautiful stuff. And there was another one that was seen just about a week ago in Laikipia in central Kenya. It was photographed up a tree. That is something that I would love to go on a mission and spend time trying to seek out. As I'm sure a lot of you would love to do as well. Who knows, maybe in the future we will be able to go on a black leopard hunt together. Very good. While we dream about black leopards, we are going to be sending you back to Taylor McCurdy, who is almost approaching the Mara River.
Did you just say how to dream of... What? Dreaming about black leopards? Pretty cool. I'd like to dream about that. Now we are sitting at cul-de-sac crossing. We're probably not going to hang around here for very long because our zebra are nowhere to be seen. But we'd stop and have a look at the crocs. Now Tristan has been looking for baby crocodiles at Chitwa Dam. He has found baby crocodiles at Chitwa Dam. We need to find baby crocodiles in the Mara River, which I think could be a little bit harder. Shall we start scanning? You know where I think we're going to find lots of baby crocs is if we go down towards Salas and some of those massive luggers. And there's sections of the Sand River as well that are quite wide and filled with water. So there's quite a few crocs. And I think in those grassy spots where there's a bit more cover, we might start to see them. That's a little one. That croc is probably just less than a meter. So not very old, but older than a little hatchling. And we're after the hatchling seen as though it's that time of year. Nothing along there. And I think what we will do is maybe go all the way along the river today and we'll start checking for little ones. And there's so many of them around. This is a good croc spot. A croc hot spot. That's what it is. Just trying to see down here. I haven't really seen any areas that are great for nesting. Although I suppose this is probably the best site that I have seen. There is some sandy soil sort of down there. A little bit away from the edge of a bank. Maybe around there somewhere. There could be some croc nests. But I don't see any females guarding them at the moment. But they could be just off to the side. Also don't see any recently disturbed soil. Maybe they've started hatching already. Okay, let's go to the next one. This one's very quiet. I'd also like to have a look a little bit further down. There's a cool section with a big pod of hippos that provides plenty of entertainment. So I think we shall go and see how they're doing as well, and party about with the hippopotami. But it would be nice to see little crocs. Let's even check here. Now, Joy, is it you that asks me the most amazing questions, why elephants have trunks and not hoses? Anyways, Joy, you were wondering not about that, but whether waterbuck ever cross here. Yeah, they will. They will indeed. Waterbuck are incredible when it comes to crossing water sources. They're very strong swimmers, and then of course they've got those sebaceous glands. Oh, not waterbuck. Warthogs. Well, there we go. Now I'm going to change my story. But waterbuck are also very crossing rivers. I have not seen a warthog cross a river. Can you imagine how excited the crocodiles would be? They'd be smiling from ear to ear. Haha, they already do. And they would just catch him. I don't know how well a little piglet could swim, and an adult, because they've got quite short, stumpy legs in comparison to their body. Never seen a piggy swim. Seen them wallow, but never seen them put their bathers on and, in they go. Has anybody seen a warthog swim? Let's ask Scott if he's seen one swimming. Kirst, are there any guides sitting in final control right now? Or not? Is Tristan not there, eavesdropping like normal? Oh no, he hasn't started game drive yet. Here I am teasing him. Can we ask the two of them if they've ever seen warthog swimming, please? Because I'm intrigued now. We'll find out for you shortly. We'll find out whether they use flippers or if they prefer just a goggle and snorkel. Okay, Tristan says he's seen them wallowing like me, but not swimming. I suppose sometimes those wallows can get quite deep though. Maybe the little piglet has to doggy paddle its way out. I doubt it though. But quite interesting though. Maybe some of you who are watching are South Africans and have been going to the Kruger National Park for the last 150 years. If you are, and you have seen many things, it's been going for that long, you would have seen loads and loads of things, please let us know. It's quite interesting. We'll have to start asking, shall we message Jamie? Oh, Jamie's on holiday, we're not allowed to bother her while she's on holiday, but I want to ask her anyway. And Scott also says no. Oh my goodness. We should have tested it when I had a little pig and a swimming pool nearby too. Can you imagine? Could have put little Emma on a little surfboard. Going through the pool. Nah, it's ridiculous. I would never do that. Kirsten's just said that Scott tried to put a pork sausage in the pool once, but it didn't swim. What is wrong with this team? That is so funny. You guys are crazy. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine that? Please can somebody draw a picture of Scott's pork sausage in the swimming pool but not swimming, because there's some artists out there and I feel like you could get quite creative. Hashtag Safari Live with your artwork, please. Maybe we'll have a competition to see who is the winner. So we can give that a bash. I see some cars stopped at one of the crossings. They might also be looking for baby crocodiles though. Perhaps they've got the same idea as us, or there could be some lions sitting on the edge of the river. That's most certainly a possibility too, because the crossings that we're heading to now it seem to be the favorite spots of the Paradise Pride. What did I see? No, I don't know if I saw anything. Now, Kristen, you're wondering if there's maybe too much current in the river for the baby crocodiles. Not in all the sections. There's some spots and little sort of little crevices or areas they could go into. That's why I said I think we're going to have a better chance at finding them down on the sand river, because some of those luggers that sort of flow off the sand river are exceptionally wide and particularly grassy, so it's good for camouflage, trying to hide away, because there'd be big herons and storks and all sorts of other birds and other crocodiles that might try and eat, all the little ones. So it would be best for them, and I think we'd have a chance, because I have seen a couple of little crocs in actually in the BBC lugger before. I saw two. They weren't tiny, but they were only about a length of just a bit bigger than a ruler, maybe 2 rulers, no lie, maybe about 60 centimeters, so maybe about that long. And they were quite happy in there. It'd also be a better source of food for them because they could catch smaller things. There's not as much competition. So yeah, so I suppose it just depends. But there are some very nice areas that have got a few reeds and that are a little bit rocky where the water has settled down slightly and just sort of veer off the main parts of the river. So those would be better. But you'll be surprised though. They are tough little critters and they can paddle quite well with their feet and use that tail really, really well. Right, we're at Hippo City now. Hippo City, here they are. But it's not all of them. I don't see as many as there usually are. Maybe I'm a bit early. Oh, there's one even opening its mouth for us, trying to say hello to the right. Hello, hippopotamus. Did we miss you saying hello? It opened up its mouth. You can see how it's mouthing the water now, diving straight under. It's a bit early for them, I think. I think we got lucky there. But they seem to be moving around quite a bit, blowing bubbles, so perhaps they are waking up from their slumber. Oh, and now there seems to be a few more heads popping up. That's good news for us. Let's see. I'm sure someone's going to open their mouth again. We've just got to watch. We've got two different groups of hippos. And on the Mara River like this, you will see sort of pods relatively close together. You know, whether these are maybe some young males back here. Although, no, I feel like two females and a male on this side. The other ones, we'll have to stare at them a bit longer to figure out what's going on. And of course, as I say that, they dive under, and I have to try and convince you that they're actually hippos there. Oh, there's another one that's joined the party. That looks like a female. Also a female. I'm just guessing. I don't really know. But they just look not petite. As petite as what a hippopotamus can look. That was the worst word to try and use to describe a hippopotamus. Imagine you said that to someone that's never seen a hippo in their entire life, and you said, oh yes, the females are petite. They would spot a hippo, and they would say that's a lie. I just lied to you. Very funny. I think it's funny. I'm glad I can keep myself entertained. Actually, that looks like maybe mom and youngster. Maybe they're part of the same pod. I doubt it though. There's quite a big gap. If we sit here for a bit, we might see if they come together and start interacting with one another. But they're fairly social creatures. They're normally on top of one another, especially when they're sunbathing. But now they've come back, and I think that they were sunbathing at one point. There's some nice sandy banks here, and with the wind, if it was howling through the Mara, although they've got a nice sheltered spot actually, considering how windy it actually is. The water isn't raging like normal. Now, Dos Santos, you're wondering if the hippos actually sleep in the water. Yeah, boy, of course they do. And they sleep on the banks. It's quite interesting how they're able to, well, continue breathing, sort of going up and down, because their heads don't necessarily always stay above the water when they do have naps. It's almost an automated response, which I think is pretty incredible, that they go up and down and constantly take a breath. So they'll lay in the shallows. They don't want to be in deep water if they're going to have a nap during the day, although hippos don't particularly like deep water, only when they really have to and if they maybe need to get away. But they'll stick to the shallow parts or the little rocky spots and obviously create more shallow areas. Anyways, and they'll all sleep together, so they'll sort of line up. Some might have their heads on others' backs, otherwise they'll just sort of keep them up and down, and they'll just do this the whole time. Here it's very common to see hippos sleeping out on the bank, like that sandy patch over there. That's exactly it. That is probably where the hippos were resting. Can we see? Yeah, it looks like you can actually see some bits of soil and sand that are slightly disturbed and almost flattened. I can definitely see some footprints there. So that's where those hippos would have been bathing and just resting. And then they don't have to worry about bobbing up and down in the water. But it gets quite hot, and it's important that they do stay in the water and stay nice and cool. Very cool, though. That's nice. Oh my goodness, it sounds like something very exciting is going on in Scott's car. I don't want to hold you back. Let's very quickly go across. The cheetah has just lifted its head.
Yes, they have both lifted their heads, and even Miali has lifted her front quarters off the ground. Looking promising. Hopefully she's not doing just an obligatory scan around the area and going to go back to bed once she realizes everything's safe, or that there's not too much prey in the immediate vicinity. But good prospects that she is thinking about moving. mainly zebra out there. There are some Thompson's gazelle dotted in amongst them, so some possible prey for her. Oh no. You can snooze for 10 more minutes. You're allowed to, like Taylor, hit the snooze button 3 times. You're allowed only 1 time. Taylor hit the snooze button 3 times this morning, for those of you who don't know. And it looks like Miale is in a similar scenario. Hello, planes and trains. Sorry, I got your name wrong. I thought you were the cane train earlier, which is something very different to planes and trains. You would like to know if they could possibly reunite if they split up now. I think I may have got the question a little bit confused. So Kirsty, if you can just give it to me one more time, please. Yes, they would definitely recognize one another if they split up and rejoined one another. There are no two ways about that. How they will treat one another, I'm not too sure, but I am almost 99% certain that they will not forget who their own offspring and parents are, even if it's many years between them crossing paths in the future again. Well, you'll be glad to know that it's nearly time for the Juma crew to join us. And who knows what plans they have for this afternoon safari. I can't even remember what they managed to find on this morning safari, but hopefully some leopard. Who knows what else? Oh, sorry, not now. They'll only be with us in half an hour. As you can see, my little brain has not understood exactly the times and the time changes and the time zones and worked everything out. But yeah, they'll only be doing a 2.5-hour drive this afternoon, essentially. Now that I've worked everything out, kind of. I love the way their ears twitch to get the flies away. I wish I could twitch my ears like they can. Wouldn't that be nice? It's not as effective if you use your finger. The flies can be quite a nuisance. It hasn't been too bad here in the last since we arrived really, but you do get some days when the flies are a real nuisance, especially when you're just trying to have like a quick half an hour snooze when the cheetah is sleeping and you've got all these flies buzzing around, landing on your nose. Not easy. And it would be a bit much to have mosquito nets hanging over us. I don't think the people would think we were very impressive if they saw mosquito nets hanging from our vehicles in the middle of the day. Thought about it though. Also thought about maybe just one of those visors for your head. But for me, even if a mosquito is anywhere on my body that I can, not a mosquito, a fly is just breakdancing or moonwalking rather, as they do, anywhere on my body, it tends to give me the heebie-jeebies. Very good. We're going to send you back to Taylor and see what she's getting up to.
We're at the dentist at the moment, Scott. We're just checking this crocodile's teeth. Yeah, say ah. Perfect, all good. Very healthy, this crocodile. That is, I'm just teasing, of course. How amazing is this? We don't often get to see this beautiful behavior up close like this, and of course he or she is trying to keep nice and cool. I don't know if it is a he or she. It could be either right now. It's not particularly massive, this crocodile, and now that the clouds have come over, I'm sure that it will be cooling down a lot quicker as well. I'd love to know the temperature of the Mara River. That's something I don't know. I'm not brave enough to stick my toes in it or my fingers, but maybe there's a thermometer and we can tie it into a string and we can throw it into the Mara River. Or we could just ask someone. Maybe somebody's already measured the temperature. That would probably be the easier option, but the more adventurous way, maybe I'll go digging in the first aid kit and we can try. How does that sound? I'll go fishing. I might get into trouble though, maybe I won't do that. But anyways, it's very cool. It looks like it's a statue at the moment though. Now, Christine, you're wondering if there are any animals that would attack and, well, kill this creature. Because, well, looking at a crocodile of this size, maybe about 2.5 meters long, you'd think, what could possibly take on this? Well, not of this size would be very unusual, unless you had, for some reason, you had a pride of lions that caught this croc outside on land. But even that is not very, very common. So the small crocodiles that we're looking for, that's what we're searching for. That's why we've come to these different sections of the river to scan along the rocks and along the grassy areas to see if we can spot any of those little crocodiles. They get munched by everything. Lots of birds in particular, like storks. So the saddle-billed storks, the yellow-billed storks, and all the herons, black-headed heron, grey heron, and of course a Goliath heron would snatch them up. And there's no shortage of those birds either. So there'd be a little bit of a problem, and again, crocodiles can lay so many eggs. Not all of them are going to make it to adulthood. And other crocs will eat each other. We're just briefly touching on that. But that's so beautiful. You can hear, it sounds like a rattling testicular that's alarming, that's making all that noise in case you can hear it. I wonder if it's talking to the crocodile. Although not that a little bird like that would really have to worry about such a large croc, but small birds coming down to drink would have to worry about the smaller crocs. Now, Donna, you're wondering why do crocodiles lie with their mouths open? The main reason, and you typically see them doing it during the heat of the day, it's just to try and keep cool. It's a technique that they'll use to cool themselves down. Was it elephant or steering wheel? I'm not sure. Oh, no, it's not elephants. I thought elephants were trumpeting. Sounds like somebody's having some interesting car issues, I suppose, like us. But this is very cool. And can we have a scan along the edges to see if we can maybe find any of those small crocodiles? Let's have a very quick look, because there's some rocky areas and some grassy spots. So we might get lucky here. Maybe you just see a few up on the rocks. No, not right now. Looks like something was... I think there was a hippos trying to get in and out over there. Now, Debbie, you're wondering if the raised bits on the back of a crocodile have a purpose? Well, if you ever see a crocodile, and then I'm just trying to think of one, if you look towards that crocodile's tail, you can see as you start to go further and further down, more parts that are submerged. It definitely helps with camouflage, and it's also very, very thick, so it'll be protection. I'm sure some of the toughest parts on the crocodile will be around their back. It's like armor plating for a crocodile. And even when I've seen footage of hippos attacking crocs, and there was some incredible ones where this croc, I think, just was in the wrong place at the wrong time and was in a huge pod of hippos and couldn't get out, and they were throwing it around. I didn't really see any sort of wounds on the sort of back end towards the tail, up along the back, those really, really tough bits. So it's obviously particularly thick. I've never felt crocodile skin before. I couldn't tell you what it feels like, which would actually be quite an amazing thing, I think, to touch. But I'm not brave enough to jump on a crocodile. My name is not Steve Irwin. But there we go. Okay, let's carry on. Let's see what else we can find. There's no baby crocs here. I would like to see baby crocs. I always get nervous doing that when I'm on the edge of the river. I'm just going to go, or the bank is going to collapse. There's crocs everywhere, all scattered round. Diane, you're wondering if there's another kind of reptile, if there are any terrapins in the river. I'm sure there are, although I'd want to keep away from maybe the crocodiles, especially those young ones. Again, they'd be opportunistic feeders. They'd take what they can get. And, I mean, even leopards start off with eating terrapins and tortoises before they learn how to catch food properly. So I've seen lots of them in the little wallows though, and in the luggers. I think that's better suited habitat. Remember we were talking about there's lots of grass that grows around there. It's camouflage, because when little terrapins are born, they're tiny little things. Again, also preyed upon the same species that will prey upon young crocodiles. And there's more things for them to eat around there. Less competition again. So you tend to see the terrapins in the luggers, and on a day like today you might even see them on the rocks basking or sitting on top of a hippo's head. if we see any hippos and luggers, it's a pity we're not driving in the marsh today, because then we definitely would have seen some hippos down that way. We could have tried to have found some terrapins. Here it's a little bit drier. The grass is much yellower. Are those our zebra from this morning? I think it is. I think our crazy zebra have done a big loop because they weren't back behind us. They were just some topy sort of west of where the little bridge is that starts this section of the river road. And that's where they'd headed, unless they'd already missioned, and this is a new group of zebra. We're just going to go all the way back down to the river again. We have to do loops and laps. There's not just one road that runs all the way and is as close as we were a minute ago. Go around. We're almost there, we're almost there. Now it's windy. As soon as you rise up a little bit, it's terrible. Lots of little dust devils spinning round, getting sand in our eyes. Willow, who's only 3 years old, you're wondering if the hippos in the Mara River know the little baby hippo Fiona. I don't know, Willow. I'm still learning to speak hippo. I'm still trying to speak many of the different languages that the animals speak that I can't. And I'm not sure. Shall we ask them? I'll try and ask them in grunts. I'm trying to think how you would ask a hippo in Hipponese. Let me try. What about this? Do you think that sounded like hippopotamuses of the Mara River? Do you know baby Fiona the hippo? Okay. Right. I think I also maybe imagined some zebra. I'm pretty sure I just saw some. Maybe it was just one, and they've all turned into Thompson's gazelle. So on that note, I'm going to send you back across to Scott, who's not imagining any animals today.
Yes, we do in fact have some zebra slowly grazing off in the distance, completely oblivious that there are some cheetah in the vicinity. To be honest though, I don't think they've got too much to worry about. Even though there's a young foal there, cheetah have got quite a lot of respect for zebra, because zebra demand a lot of respect as they can chase the smaller predators, including leopard from time to time. If they do manage to catch a young foal, the rest of the herd will often come in and unceremoniously chase the predators off. The cheetah have gone back into full coma for the time being, but that could change at any moment. There were some reedbuck that went to sleep in a small riverbed behind us, and if they get up, they'll certainly give these guys something to think about, or something worth waking up for. But for now, Manu and I are just sitting here patiently enjoying the breeze. And wondering how long it will be till they get up. Hi Joy, you'd like to know if cheetah will generally eat their kill wherever it hits the ground, as opposed to kind of dragging it off under a bush. It definitely seems to be the case out here, and this has been the place where I've spent more time with cheetah than any other place or for any other portion of my career as a guide. So I've learned a lot in the last few months, and I've never once seen any one of the cheetahs here dragging their kills away. What I'm thinking is that if a kind of bush is nearby or somewhere where they can hide out, they will use it. But in this vastly open ecosystem, often that is not the case. Often there's just nowhere for them close enough to justify trying to hide their kill or stash their kill. And the reason they try and hide it is so that mainly vultures don't see it. Vultures are probably one of the biggest pests, and the problem is that it's not the vultures that they can't keep at bay, but it's the vultures coming into a kill that will attract other predators' attention, like lion, leopard, and hyena. So yeah, as soon as it hits the ground, they catch their breath, feed on as much of it as they can, as quickly as they can, and then head off. Interestingly, in the Sabi Sands, when I started my career, we had a female cheetah on the property for a shortish period of time, and she managed to catch and kill an adult female kudu. And she fed on it for 3 full days, without one hyena, leopard, or lion giving her any trouble. And, you know, those kind of almost miracles do happen out here, where just none of the scavengers or other predators that will steal from them are in the right place to actually be aware that there's a kill. The wind must have just always blown in her favor, away from wherever hyena were moving. And I guess that's kind of an example of things happening against the norm. If somebody had have told me that a female cheetah fed on 1 kill for 3 days, I would never believe them, especially not in the Sabi Sands, where there's such a high density of lions, leopards, and hyena that will all steal quite easily from a cheetah. What we know for certain is that this young boy here is a greedy glutz. He ate all of the kill to himself, and like I said a bit earlier, I'm fairly certain. Oh, some topi. Do they have any babies with them? Doesn't look like it. They could have tucked them away somewhere. I don't know, enjoying grazing without having to worry about keeping an eye on their youngsters. It was really cool yesterday, and something that I'm definitely going to pass on to Taylor and the others, is that topi mothers seem to do an exceptional job in getting their youngsters away from any threats, and that is what led us to a female cheetah this morning. We were with these guys, and off in the distance we saw a whole a whole herd of topi, all with their youngsters in tow, running away from a certain direction, looking back over their shoulders. And I saw that happen for the first time yesterday. Who were they running from yesterday? I've lost track of which cheetah they were running from. The 5 Musketeers. Thanks, Manu. And from a long distance off, these guys saw the cheetah and got out of there as quickly as possible. And the very same thing happened this morning. And it's a good lesson learned. Topi behavior. They seem like they are reliable sources when they've got youngsters. When they don't have youngsters, however, they're very bold and upright stance that they assume, possibly even when they're just relaxing. You can see one standing all proud and staring in one direction and kind of think that he's maybe staring at something, but he's just casting a pose, so to speak. Not really doing anything in Pacific. Manu, I can see a bird floating at about 2:30, midway up into space. I'm not sure what it is. Let's see if we can get a view. Oh, beautiful. There we go. It is a vulture. And I find it incredibly peaceful and soothing to watch these guys float about. Jen, thank you very much for your very useful chunk of wisdom that you have just provided us with. And that is that king cheetah have only been documented in the wild on 6 occasions. Fascinating. And I wonder which lucky people and or places got to say they were home to a king cheetah. Sorry if I'm greedy for that information, Jen, but if you do know whereabouts on this fine continent they were doing their business, that would be very, very interesting. Some apparently were seen in Zimbabwe, to the south of us, to the north of Juma. Very good. I've only been to Zimbabwe once, to a concession called Pumashana. A very beautiful place filled with baobab trees, rocky outcrops, great game viewing, tiger fishing in the lake. Oof, very cool spots. I went and spent 2 weeks there when I was training as a guide, and we got absolutely spoiled when we were training. We got taken there specifically to spend time with black rhino on foot so that we could be prepared to deal with a charging black rhino as and when we had qualified as guides. Sadly, the closest we came to a black rhino was one that had been sedated the day before. It had some kind of a injury or sickness, so they had tranquilized it the day before, done some work on it, and we all crept up to it. There was 6 of us in our training group, and we crept up to it and all kind of assumed positions. Some of us were up trees. We were kind of like, all in areas where we were ready for this thing to charge us. And our trainer did crack a few twigs to try and get the rhino's attention and then see if it came in and charged us, which it was in theory supposed to do. And our trainer snapped the first twig, tuck, and the rhino's ears, which are in theory very powerful, didn't even move. They just stayed exactly, well, they weren't even looking at us or listening to us. The ears didn't even prick up. So the sticks got bigger, and then eventually we were all just kind of standing around this black rhino. We had come down from our trees and hiding places, and we took a close look at it from about 15 or 20 meters away. It was still obviously a little bit groggy. So the training and the encounters that we were hoping to experience with black rhino on foot weren't really achieved, but we did spend a lot of time tracking them, so our tracking skills were improved, and obviously just being in a different wilderness area with different game and things to look at and learn about was a wonderful, wonderful experience. That's the only time I've been to Zimbabwe. I should go back. It's a wonderful country. There's so many wonderful countries to explore here in Africa. Alrighty. Well, it's good to see that Miale has her head up, albeit in a comfortable pillow-like position. Hopefully the next time you come and join us, she will be strutting her stuff. But for now, it will be Taylor who will be strutting her stuff.
No, I'm not strutting anything today. I must behave for a change. But we're staring down the Mara River. Isn't it beautiful, this little section that we're at? I think it's quite lovely. And here again you can see how lovely and still the water is this afternoon. It really is nice. It's pleasant along the water's edges. I'm surprised there aren't more animals around here. There's a hippo. That's not a rock that's just moving. There are a few hippos. And you can also see how deep it is. It's not particularly deep, whether it's just standing on a rocky section. I'm not so sure, and I'm also not going to go and find out. Oh, and then we've just got a crocodile casually floating down the river. I wonder how many kilometers you've done today, Mr. or Mrs. Crocodile. There it goes. I don't even think it's using its tail. I think it's just floating with a current at the moment. That's quite nice. It's the equivalent of going down on a lilo, except the crocodile is basically the lilo. Just casually changing direction, just drifting now. There we go, now it's having to use its tail. Where are you turning? It's like it's trying to dock. That's what it reminds me of. It's actually, that's me. That is me on the Bushman's River in the Eastern Cape trying to dock my boat. Now I've made a mistake. Now I'm going to try and reverse in. No, I'm joking. I'm going to turn around, do a big loop and come again. Luckily it's a bit easier for a crocodile. Actually, I wasn't too bad at driving boats. Funny enough, that was one of my favorite things, taking guests down on the river, going fishing, going birding, going to the beach. It was a lot of fun. There we go, and some flat bottom clouds this afternoon. That's not what they're really called, but they do have flat bottoms to them. It look like they're starting to develop a bit of rain and getting very dark and very heavy. Are you going to turn into cumulonimbus clouds? Some of you look like you're climbing the skies. I thought we were going to be lucky and maybe miss the rain, but perhaps I was wrong. perhaps we will get a little sprinkle. Not so sure. So what we were doing on the edge of this river was we had a big herd of zebra crossing just behind us. They didn't cross though. They looked like they were going to go down. We didn't know if they were going to have a drink or if they were going to run through. There's a couple of little nice spots that they could have climbed up and onto the other side. They didn't though. And then I also went driving in, and then Jar kindly pointed out the sign that said, "Do not enter." And I had to turn around very quickly so I didn't get into trouble. So that happened. And so we didn't watch the zebra. The zebra then ran away. So I think we're going to try and go to those, have a look at those zebra. Oh, no, I don't want to, because now they're coming back again. I don't think you can see them. Let me just reverse straight back. I'm just going to very gently straight back. I don't think there's no rocks or any, well, not rocks, but there's no cars behind us. That's all I'm really worried about for now. We'll just go a little bit, and then you can see the do not go beyond this point. There's even a dead buffalo. That's what happened last time. Somebody tried to cross. There we go. Let me also turn around. There's the sign, and now the zebra are moving again. See, there's a little spot that goes down to the river. We can't see it, but if they do decide to cross, we can catch them about, yeah, just more than halfway, and then going back up the other side. So maybe we'll stick around here, but it could take some time. That's a big pregnant mare, and you at the back you're a little bit nervous too, just watching your hindquarters. But there are lots of zebras still on their way through. That's a big buffalo skull that they've put up on that "do not go beyond this point" sign. Oh, a lovely set of horns, doesn't he? Well, he had a lovely set of horns. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a lion, a pride of lions that maybe took that down. Maybe it was Scar. Now, Kristen, you're wondering what my absolute favorite animal is to spot and watch. Spotting? I don't know. I enjoy a challenge when you're spotting an animal. It must be far away, or it must be tucked under a shrub and look like the sand or something along those lines. So I'm going to have to say, when you spot either a leopard or a lion, it's pretty spectacular. Sitting and watching them can go both ways. Obviously, if they're up and moving around, it's unbelievable. If not, it can be a little bit on the tiring side, sort of like what Scott's doing right now. He plays the patience game very, very well this afternoon. He's like me, he fidgets quite a bit as well, so I think he finds it tough to sit still for long periods of time. But in terms of watching animals, it's probably elephants. And if you can get elephants coming down to the water, then you've really hit the jackpot. They swim. It's the happiest you'll ever see an elephant. They play with each other. They spray water everywhere. They all go deep down under the water. Then they do trains, and they're all trying to do pyramids and standing on one another's shoulders. Of course, they don't do that, but it kind of looks like it. They at least put in a good effort. So that's quite nice to sit and watch. Even watching hippos that are playful is quite cool. So I enjoy watching all the things. And smaller interactions. I'm just thinking of the different sightings that I've had over the years. I think elephants in the water is probably my favorite. Elephants in the Zambezi River was always incredible, watching them swim very far distances, trunks up. You know, you can't even see their heads, the water's so deep, and then slowly wading into the marshes and then feeding. That was always a very, very nice sight to see. Or perhaps if you were floating past them on a boat. That was also quite nice. But nobody's coming down to the water's edge. Now, in South Africa, it seems to be very different. If this was the Sabi River or the Sand River, you would have bushbuck and inyala, probably a herd of impala nearby. There would definitely be buffalo on the banks. Most certainly hippos. Hippos we've got, so we can tick that off the list. Crocodiles, possibly. We've seen crocodiles, so we can add them into. But there'll be a lot of animals gathering at this time of the day. Elephants coming down to drink. But not today. Leopards, perfect habitat for leopards, although I'm sure the leopards live around here, just further into the forests. I don't know where we're going to go now. Maybe we'll head towards the bat-eared fox den. I think we can try that. Look at all the rain. Is that rain? I'm not imagining that. Am I? It's dust. Goodness. Sorry, I'm parked not particularly nicely. So that's dust, not rain. I don't know whatever it is. I'm glad we're not over there. I'm just trying to think. There was dust going up. I'm not sure if it's dust or rain. It could just be a little localized storm. We know that those are not uncommon. Sorry, please may I have that question again? Philip, you were wondering what is my favorite cat to watch sleeping. I don't know if I have one, Philip. My favorite cat to watch sleeping. None. Neither. Lions? No, I can't. I cannot bear it. I'll do it when I know that it's going to be a rewarding sighting. But sometimes they really wear your patience thin. The only time that I think I was pretty excited watching a cat sleep, or we didn't quite understand what was going on, was Mvula. The day that he sat outside that Warthog burrow from the afternoon safari, halfway through the afternoon safari, right through the next morning till the sunrise safari. Yep. That was probably my favorite cat sleeping sightings. I'm going to have to say leopards. At least they're in a tree sometimes. Although you can see lions sleeping in a tree. I've not seen that too many times. I've just seen lions up in the top of a tree with leopards before. And I have seen other lions up in a tree, but I haven't seen them sleeping up there before. So yeah, that's it. Oh, hi hippos! Thank you for showing up. It's about time. That's what we've been waiting for. Some action with the hippos. Not that it's very much. There we go. Splashing about. Now, moving towards the shallows, moving towards the banks. Very nice. I'm going to send you back across to Scott again. The Juma team will be joining us shortly. How exciting. But Scott is watching his favourite cat do what it does best.
Yes, our big cat friends are incredibly good at sleeping. I guess that's kind of what makes it's so exciting when we are lucky enough to actually see them hunting. If we saw them getting their breakfast, lunch and or dinner every day, that excitement, wouldn't be there. It'd be the norm. But yes, I'm definitely on Taylor's boat regarding kind of, not dislike, but the natural frustrations of spending many hours of one's life waiting for an animal to do something can make one start questioning yourself and what you're doing. But it's been an absolute privilege being out here all day. It gets really beautiful in the middle of the day because there's not many vehicles around. Everyone's kind of gone back to camp. So it's very still and quiet. And the weather also allows for it. And Juma to be out in the middle of the day at the moment would be suicide. And even heading out at 5 p.m. their time, or 5 p.m. our time, which is 4 p.m. their time. Why am I getting confused? Yeah, they're an hour behind. It's going to be very, very warm. Even by 5 o'clock this evening, it'll still probably be hot there on your average summery day. But here at a high altitude with a cool climate, we are very, very fortunate. The weather's been great at the moments. This morning was quite cold, relatively speaking, compared to how it's been the last few weeks. So I had 2 layers instead of just the one. Oh, Miale, what are you thinking about? What are you dreaming about? Who knows? We're going to leave her to it, old twitchy ear there, and send you across to Tristan to welcome you all down south to Juma.
Good afternoon everybody and welcome to a sunny, hot South Africa, and a special warm welcome to Brookwood, Glenwood and Rice Creek Elementaries as we embark on a journey through Africa over the next 45 minutes. My name is Tristan and on camera today I've got Senzo, and we are coming to you live from South Africa, which means that all of you can ask us as many questions as you like. So you just ask your teacher the questions and they'll send them through to us, and we'll try and address all the things that you would like to know over the next little bit. All our other viewers, this is going to be a temporary hiatus from the action. You guys can carry on asking your questions. We'll just get to them a little bit later, and you guys can use hashtag Safari Live and YouTube chat should you want to. Now, it is a swelteringly hot day. It's about 31 degrees Celsius or 87 degrees Fahrenheit, which means that I would imagine a lot of the animals are going to be trying to hide out in some shade. And so what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and go along to all the places that have water and nice big trees, because the animals, not only do they want shade, but they also want something to drink on a hot day. And so it's going to be the perfect place to go and look. And the animal that I'm trying to find this afternoon is going to be the most fiercest of all the predators, the lion. So that's where I'm going to try and head and try and see if we can find them. I believe there was some lions somewhere around this morning, and maybe we'll get lucky at one of the water holes that they might be having a little sleep under one of the trees. So that's the plan. Hopefully we'll get lucky, and hopefully you guys will enjoy the afternoon with us. Now, that antelope that was running around as you came to us is called an impala. Now I'm going to try and get a little bit closer to our impalas, because they are sometimes a little bit shy and they do run a little bit, so I want to try and get a little closer so we can show you a better view. In fact, there's still two of them that are staying behind, which is quite nice. Now, these impalas are our most common antelope. These are the animals we see the most here in this particular part of South Africa. So there are lots and lots and lots of them, and they form a huge part of our ecosystem. And what that means is that they basically are animals that we need a lot of other animals rely on. So we have a situation where without these guys, we would have a lot of problems, and a lot of the predators would be very upset, as well as a lot of the vegetation, plants and trees and grasses wouldn't be able to grow as well as they do. So they're a very, very, very important species, and so we call them a keystone species for this area. Now, all of these impalas that we have here are all males. So these guys, you'll see, have horns, and they show their horns off by having these big, big structures on top. And you'll find sometimes they'll even play fight, and they'll be, kind of push those horns together, and that's why they've got them. It's not because these guys want to be able to use their horns to fight with lions or leopard or hyenas. They need to use their horns in order to be able to test each other's strength and determine who is the big boss of the male impalas. You see how they kind of show their horns to one another? So they will do this. Now, this time of the year here in South Africa is not the best time of the year for them to fight. Normally they'll only fight in April and May, when they are trying to establish what they call a territory, which is an area that they can have females and food and water and be able to then protect that area. This time of the year, it's easy for them. There's lots of food, and so they're not as territorial, which means that they don't fight nearly as much. But what you can see is that when they go from the shade, when they try and cross the road and they go into the sunny areas, is that they try and do that quite quickly. Because it's still very hot, they're going to just go from shade to shade and try and stay out of the sun as much as possible. But aren't they beautiful? They're one of my favorite antelopes. They are very common, and we see them all the time, and because they're very common, people don't like to look at them, but I think they are very beautiful antelope. And you can see that one is running into the shade because it's a little hot, I would imagine, out in the sun. Now, Derek, you're wondering how fast they can run? Well, this antelope can do about 80 kilometers an hour. Now, in miles, I'll have to get my brain to start working because I have to convert all of this. So it's 1.6 it would be about, I would think, about 45 to 50 miles, somewhere there. I'll have to just double check. Maybe Kirsty, who's in final control, will be able to help me with exactly how fast that is. 80 kilometers, I think it's about 45 miles, somewhere around there. I might be a bit wrong, but it's about that. So 72 kilometers is 45 miles, so it's close enough. I mean, 46, 47 miles, I wasn't too far away, was I? Which is good. My maths teacher will be very, very happy with me, because it seems as though I paid attention in maths class, like all of you should, if you are going to be going to maths at some stage today. Now, I have a friend who is not here in South Africa with me. She's all the way in Kenya, which is on the other side of Africa, up in the big open grasslands. And, well, she's a very bubbly character, and she would like to say good afternoon to all of you.
I'm so far away from you, Tristan, but it's good to hear your voice. We've got a group of very stripy animals going down to the water's edge, to the very dangerous Mara River. But it's very exciting to have all the schools join us today, and I very quickly want to introduce myself before they decide to run away. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me is Jahawi. And I look forward to hearing from all of you today about any questions you have about these really cool animals. I don't think they're going to cross the river. I was getting very excited because I thought we were going to get lucky and see them swim across, like I said, the very, very dangerous Mara River. And why I said it's so dangerous, because there's hippos in here, but there are animals that like to eat zebra, and they are called crocodiles. So some of you might know what alligators are. We've got their cousins down here, and they get really, really big, and there were lots and lots of them laying around. We just saw one swim right past, and you can see they're quite nervous at the water. Can you see that? They're looking around, because it could also be lions. When you go down to the water to drink, you tend to become quite distracted, and you're just focusing on drinking, and anything can sneak up from behind you. So there are many, many different animals that will purely depend on the Mara River. Without it, you know, if all the water dries up and all the drainage lines or in the mud wallows or in the dams, this is their only source of water, so they have to come here. But at the moment they're lucky because we're experiencing some short rain, so there's lots of water all over. So they don't have to come to the dangerous edge of the Mara River, but they're not hanging around for too long. See that? They're picking up the pace, they're trotting off, some of them even breaking into a canter now. If they go around past the car. Okay, let me try and get another view. But let me show you what... Actually, we'll leave the zebra because I'll show you what else lives down at the Mara River. There's some hippos here. I said to you there were hippos. Maybe we'll see another crocodile float by. How nice would that be? We'll park right on the edge. And then if the zebra come back, we can see them again. Oh, wow! Look at that! Goodness gracious, that hippopotamus was very naughty. It just opened its mouth. Now, Taylor, I love your name. It's a great name. Your parents did very well. You were wondering what would happen if an alligator just popped out the water. Well, there won't be any alligators here. So we've got crocodiles, the Nile crocodiles. I can't see one now to show you, but I promise they are here. They've just been swimming about, moving around. And while I'm in the car, it's okay, but the crocodile might try and eat the zebras. They tend to leave the hippopotamus alone. The hippopotamus and the crocodile have had many arguments before, and they just ignore each other now. Can I see that rock? Just up to the right from where you are at the moment, there's a rock. There's something just sitting to the right of it in the water. It looks like mud, but maybe it's a crocodile. 11 o'clock. Yes, that rock. And then just to the right, what do we have there? Oh, there's the crocodile. Did you see? They are so sneaky. Just lurking in the water, watching, waiting for those zebra. Can you hear the hippos? I think they're telling that crocodile to stay put. This is their turf. And hippos are very, very protective over their family. Look, there's more and more of them just starting to pop their heads up of the water. I didn't realize there were so many. They're all singing their beautiful chorus this afternoon. And they normally do that just before sunset. They get quite excited because they've been resting for the whole day. They've had siestas. And now they're ready to come out of the water and go and get something to eat. So they don't eat like you and I. They don't eat breakfast, lunch and dinner. They typically just eat an early dinner and then they have a very, very early breakfast. But they just constantly keep eating. It's like being at a buffet for a hippo. And can any of you that are watching guess what hippos eat? I'm going to let you think about that for a little while, and hopefully when you come back to me you'll be able to tell me what hippopotamuses eat. But I'm going to send you back across to Noelle, who you haven't met yet, and you are going to be so chuffed at the animal she's got to show you.
Tallest mammal, land mammal on Earth. Welcome Brookwood, Rice Creek and Glenwood Elementary to this beautiful sighting of a giraffe. Everybody loves a giraffe, and I believe you're talking about habitats, adaptation, and life cycles, which is super interesting science to be doing with us today, especially on this warm, sunny afternoon, and especially with a creature like this. My name is Noelle, and on camera I have Gendre. Hello, Gendre. All right, and remember, we are interactive, so you can ask us questions on hashtag Safari Live on the Twitter, and you can also ask us questions on the YouTube chat. All right, so habitats. Giraffes have a wide variety of habitats and occur throughout sub-Saharan Africa, so basically anything south of the Sahara Desert. You find different adaptations with them resulting around sort of height. For instance, giraffe that you'll find in South Luangwa National Park in Zambia have been inside that valley area for quite a long time. And they are actually much shorter than the giraffe that we're looking at now. So what you're going to get is, with a population that has been stuck inside a valley like the South Luangwa National Park, is the genes that are there, so the DNA that is present is what's going to keep propagating. And if the main amount of DNA has a short factor, without a better term to use, then the general population is going to be a little bit shorter. This giraffe that we're looking at here is a male. He's quite a large, big male. He's probably going to be about half a meter larger than males you would get in that area in Zambia that we were chatting about. His spacing is going to be in riverine areas like you can see here, but also in open plains. He's a southern giraffe, so you'd find him in South Africa, where we are now. Up in the Masai Mara, where you just were with Taylor, you would find mostly the Maasai giraffe, which are going to be similar in height. But what you're going to notice is that their coat pattern's a little bit different. Now that's an interesting thing to talk about, because is coat pattern with such a large creature like this part of an adaptation? Or is it just a little bit of different genetics like we would have with different skin color and different eye color and different hair color? That's something that maybe you all can think about and ask me back. But he blends in pretty well. So the coat pattern definitely has to do with a bit of camouflage, regardless of what the coat pattern looks like. I know we can see him nicely and everyone's going, but he doesn't blend in. We can see all his little bits and bobs, but you'd be surprised. Even a tall mammal like that, especially in and amongst the trees and in the thickness, if you're not in the right spot, you aren't necessarily going to be able to see him. Kirst, I'm so sorry. I think I had a little bit of an issue with my comms there. Are you trying to get a hold of me? Kate, you're wondering, why do giraffe have purple tongues? That's a really good question. So they definitely, we might get lucky, Kate. We might be able to show you. Oh, now he's staring at us and showing off his good side. There we go. He showed us there. So they do have a purple tinge, a little bit gray, a little bit black. Kate, the best explanation I can give for that is that they stick their tongues out a lot. And if it was pink like ours, it would probably get sunburned. That would be my best guess, but that is by no means the only possible reason. A lot of what we see in nature, we as humans, and we talk about it on the show quite a bit, we as humans love to put things in boxes that are easy for us to understand, but not everything can live in a box. So a lot of what we talk about is theories. Something like a gestation period, so how long a mammal is pregnant for, is a definite fact. But the other things are observations that we then try to quantify, so that we then try to understand and put in context of humans. So that's the best context I can give you for an excellent question. All right, now Taylor has another mammal species up in Kenya that we don't get to see very often here. We have very low populations of them at the moment. So let's head on over to her so you can see this amazing little predator.
Really cool little animal that's very good at hiding away, as you can see, but it's hunting at the moment. It is a little creature called a black-backed jackal. Now, maybe it looks like a fox to you, but it's not a fox. We have these things called jackals, and we've got two different species that we see every now and then. Mainly we see this species, though, the black-backed jackal, and they're so cool. I'm just so sad they're running so far away now. Come back! And I think that the three that we had, who were youngsters, I don't think they're adults. They're still quite young. Looks like they've got their adult coloration now. You can see that black stripe, the dark tail, the grey sort of hair on their bodies. But they're still very, very small. They haven't quite grown into the full size that an adult can get. There's another one. And they're looking for something to eat, so they have to actively go and search out. They don't hunt big things like buffalo or even a giraffe like a lion would. So it's looking for things like rodents, so rats and mice and gerbils. And what else would it be going for? Even eat lizards and frogs. Insects, they'll eat the alates, so the princes and princesses of the termites that have got wings. Sometimes you might call them flying ants. They'll eat lots of different things. And there's big grasshoppers out at the moment, so I'll probably take them too. See that? They keep going to the tufts of grass, seeing if they can flush anything out. And they can also eat fruit, which is quite... Oh, let's very quickly go across to Tristan.
Well, we had a crazy sight and we came down and there were some warthogs that were running, and behind me you can see there's a whole pride of lions and they were chasing the warthogs, but it seems as though the warthog managed to get away, so the warthog ran off into the distance. The lions are all chasing after it. It seems as though they've missed though, unfortunately, and in amongst all of this we also have some elephants as well, so it's everybody is here. It's not just the warthogs, there's lions and elephants and it's all just going crazy. So they were chasing the warthogs, but I think because they were sleepy, they managed to, well, they missed the warthogs, to be honest. So I'm just going to go forward a little bit so that you can see the rest of the pride, because there's a big male here, there's females, there's cubs, everybody is all together, and they've been resting probably because it's hot. Like I was saying, it is a hot day, and so they like to find some shade where they can lie down, and the warthogs were just trotting along. The warthogs didn't know the lions were here, and the lions then went chasing after them quickly because they saw an opportunity, and lions are very opportunistic, which means that as soon as they see any sort of chance to hunt an animal, they will chase it, which is very lucky for the warthogs that they saw the lions when they did and didn't run straight towards them. And it's only the reason that they saw the lions is because an elephant broke a branch and one of the lions lifted its head because it didn't actually see the warthogs. But there you go, there's some of the cubs that are sitting on the road. So there's a big female that's walking away from us, and then the older cubs, which is the one closest to us, and in this pride has got 4 tiny brand new little babies as well. So I'm hoping that they're going to be here too, and then we'll see the big male lion also hopefully in this area. But we're going to have to wait for that lion to move, the one that's in the sun, because until that one moves, I'm not going to be able to get to the rest of the pride. Here comes one of the other females. You can see this is the female that is the mom at the moment of the small cubs, because she's still got milk. You see she's got a bit of milk that she's producing, and that's because those little cubs, they need to be able to drink milk in order to survive. They're not eating meat just yet. They're still a little bit on the young side. But let's try and go forward, because it seems as though they're all going towards the shade, and it's a massive big tree that they're going to be able to sleep under, and it was the perfect place for some lions to have a really good rest. So I'm sure they're going to be very happy here. Now what I want to try and do is try and get into a place where we can hopefully see everybody as well as the daddy lion as well. Ashla, you're wondering how fast a lion can run. Well, a lion can run at the same speed as those impalas, so at about 80 kilometers an hour when the lion is running. The male lion's not quite as fast because they're a little bit bigger. So in miles, we're saying about 48, 49 miles an hour is how fast that they can run. So they're very, very quick, but when it's hot like this, they're not going to run for very far, because it means that they're going to get too hot too quickly, and it's just they can't really do it, and so they go and they find some shade and they lie down. The big male lion is the one lying, but look, they're the 4 cute little babies. Now those little babies are now, I think they're about 3 months old, so they're still very small. It's only now that they're starting to kind of come out of where they've been hiding, because the mother will hide them in what's called a den site. And so the den site is a place where these little tiny cubs, because when they're born they can't see, they're blind, they can't do anything for themselves, that's where she leaves them, and she'll then go and hunt, get food, and then she comes back and she provides milk for these little ones. But they now have gotten to the age where they're able to come out and start walking around a little bit more. But how cute are they? Look at the little yawn and the tiny teeth. They are very cute little things. Adeline, you're wondering if lions' tongues are spiky. Well, Adeline, I think that you might have a cat at home, because if you've got a cat at home, you know that your domestic cat has got a little rough tongue. And yes, so lions' tongues are the same as your domestic cat. They have these little hairs that grow on them, and those hairs are very rough, and it's basically like little spikes. And the reason why they need that is for 2 things. One is to be able to groom themselves. So when we say groom themselves, is to lick and to be able to keep their fur nice and clean and get rid of any fur. You know that you'll often brush your dog or your cat to try and clean them, and so it's the same thing with the lions. That tongue means that they can clean themselves and make sure that they get rid of any loose fur, as well as parasites. Now when I say parasites, I'm talking about ticks, and ticks are a little animal that lives on the grass, and as the lions walk past, it goes on and it feeds off the blood, and it can be very bad for the lions and can make them feel quite ill. And so they have to groom those off. And the other thing they can get is what is called mites. Now, mites, you'll see on some of these lions that we have in this pride, they've got these mites on them, and it causes them to get very itchy, and then they scratch, and that makes a big black marking on them. And so the situation is that they need to be able to groom like that. The other thing is when they're eating, they eat meat, and there's often meat that is on bones, and we know we use our fingers sometimes if we're eating a chop or something like that, and we try and get rid of that meat. It's the same thing with the lions. They need to use something to be able to lick the meat off the bones, and so they will use their tongue that is very, very rough, and they can then lick on those bones, and then they can get off all the bits of meat and be able to stay nice and full from it. So the tongue is very important for the lions to be able to survive. They need it all the time to keep themselves clean and make sure that they are nice and washed, as well as to be able to feed nicely. Now, while the little cubs are sitting here, there is a big male lion, so the daddy lion is just in front of me as well. So I'm going to just roll forward a little bit for you. Oh, sorry, little ones. So the little one's got a bit of a fight because I went over a branch, but we should be okay once we get into this situation. There we go. Now, Jackson, you want to know if the lions have any predators. So yes, I mean, a big male lion like this, the only thing he really has to worry about is either other male lions or big groups of hyenas. He might get attacked by big groups of hyenas, but that would be very, very, very rare. Little cubs that we saw just now that were lying here, those little cubs, well, they have a lot of predators. So they will have snakes, birds of prey, so like eagles will go after them. They will have leopard, hyena, wild dog, cheetah. Cheetah would be but probably not really much of a predator for them. And then also other lions. And the reason why other lions will kill little cubs is because if they're from a different pride, or if it's a male or a dad that is from a different pride, he doesn't want those cubs around, because it means that the cubs will live and he has to use all his energy to defend them, even though they're not his. And a male lion or a daddy lion doesn't have a very long time that he's in charge of a pride. He can only probably be in charge of a pride. Normally they're in charge for about 4 or 5 years, and so it's a very short time, and so he can't sit and protect other males' cubs or other daddies' cubs, and so he actually sometimes will kill them so that female will then produce cubs with him, and he can have cubs of his own that he can protect and defend and make sure that his bloodline is the one that goes forward. Look at the little ones climbing. Alicia, no, the lion's color doesn't change as they get older. I'm going to try and just go a little bit further forward for you, Alicia. Just hold on for me 2 seconds, because I've got a bush in the way for Senzo and the little cubs that are playing with their mom, and I want to show you that the cubs are the same color as their mom. So even though their mom is older, the cubs are still the same color and have the same appearance, so they don't change color too much. The only ones that will change color are the daddy lions, and the reason why the daddy lions change color is because they've got big manes, and they will then get this much more black coloration. You see there, they got long hair around their throat and around their head, and that then starts to turn black as they get older and more dominant, and you'll find a situation where they're able to then show other lions that we are strong, that I am a strong male, that I have a pride, and that I'm able to keep my territory safe from other animals. And so that's why the male lions tend to have much bigger, blacker coloration bodies than what you see from the females. But the cubs, if they're a female cub, they won't change color at all throughout their life. They stay the same. But you can see everybody's very sleepy. And there was a bit of commotion because of the warthog and a bit of movement because of the warthog, but now everyone is quite tired and it's time to have a really good rest for the next little bit. I think they're going to probably rest most of the afternoon. It's only when it gets a little bit cooler and the shade starts to come down and it's not as hot in the sun that these little ones, or all of them actually, should start moving around and doing something. There is a water hole not far from us with a bit of water where I think they'll go and drink a little bit later, and so for now it will be sleeping and then they'll move a little bit later. Jeremy, you want to know if lions roar when they are little? No, so they don't make a roaring sound. Listen. So can you hear that? So lion cubs will squeak really when they're little. There's not much roaring that comes from them. Only when they get a bit older and their lungs get a bit bigger and their voice box gets bigger can they then be able to roar. But you see, look, they're trying to look for milk, so they're going to their aunties to see if their aunties have milk for them, but they don't, so they're going to have to just go and say hello and make sure that they greet everybody. And this is all part of being in a pride, is that lions like to be able to sit with one another and groom each other, and when they rub up like that, it's all just to basically greet each other and to make sure that the bond between them is very strong. It's like if you want to go and you're feeling a little bit down and your mom gives you a hug, it's the same thing with these guys, is that they go and they give each other hugs to be able to sort of keep the bond between the family very strong. Now, our big cats are sleeping and are very tired, and I think our little ones eventually are going to lie down because mom is very sleepy. And so while we sit and wait for these guys to start getting up and maybe moving, let's go back to Scott all the way in the Masai Mara, and he's got another cat that is very spotty.
Well, it sounds like you guys have been having a great time with Tristan and those lions. We've still been waiting patiently here with this female cheetah called Miali and her young boy. They both stood up earlier and got us very excited that they were going to take us off hunting, but they subsequently lay back down and are just snoozing, relaxing in the shade. A warm welcome to the schools that have joined us on safari. It's great to have you with us. And my name is Scott, and I've teamed up with Manu on camera. We've spent the whole day with these cheetah. We found them at about 7 o'clock this morning, and we've been sitting with them patiently ever since. We have been very lucky, though. We did see them catch and kill a baby topi, which is a kind of antelope, this morning. The boy got to eat everything, and the mom didn't have anything to eat because she was chased away by the topi's mother. So it was very interesting sighting, very exciting. But what that means is that the boy has had breakfast, or at least a meal, whereas the mother hasn't. And I must be careful not to confuse you guys, because they definitely don't have meals like we do. They don't have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they don't eat on set days. They eat as and when they are lucky enough to catch prey. And even though they are the fastest mammal on the planet, they have got very, very good competition in terms of their prey, and their prey will usually actually escape. So they can take many, many attempts before they get successful. And who knows, maybe a little bit later on this evening, once it's cooled down a bit, these cheetah will get up and take us looking for their next meal, which will be very, very exciting indeed. Hello, Maylin and Amaya. You would like to know, why do cheetah have spots? And it's to help them camouflage. When if you are wearing kind of one color, it becomes easy to see you in the bush. Whereas if you are covered with lots of different spots and colors, you all of a sudden blend in. And as Manu zooms out, you'll kind of see what I mean. It's difficult because they are in a shady spot, but you can see how all those little dots help break their body up into lots of pieces and not be one uniform structure or subject that their prey can see. And a lot of the big cats around the world have got spots. Even lions possibly used to have spots that have faded away because they probably don't need them as much because they hunt in a pride. Whereas cheetah are most often solitary, and so are leopard, and therefore they possibly need a little bit better camouflage to be able to sneak up to their prey. If you look very closely at Tristan's lions when you go back to them, you'll see they've got very, very faint marks on their body, especially around their stomach. They tend to fade as they become older. But it is to help them camouflage. And in the midday heat, when the cheetah also do quite a bit of their hunting, all of those spots and their general coat color will help them blend in very well to their surroundings so that they can sneak up to their prey. Ah, well, it sounds like Taylor's found another spotted animal that's neither a cat nor a dog.
We've got the cat dog hyenas, Scott. That one's just for you. We've got 2 hyenas here, and we thought we were being charged by one. Can you believe it? And I thought, that's ridiculous. That couldn't be the case at all. Hyenas are not a threat to humans. But you saw there, just as you came to us, I think there's a female hyena in here. Maybe she's coming into estrus, so maybe she's coming into a breeding season now, and this male wants to mate with her. I think that's maybe what's going on. But she's not having any of it. She keeps chasing him away. Let's see if it happens again. He's trying to come from a different route now. She's hiding in the long grass, and she's much bigger than him too, which is quite strange, because with most mammals and most animals, it's normally the males that are much larger than the girls, but in the case of the hyenas, it's the girls that are bigger. They actually produce a lot of testosterone, can you believe it? So they've got big muscles too. No, now of course they've sat down in the grass and we can't see them, but they're one of my favorite animals, and they're also spotty like the cheetah, like the cats that Scott had, but like Scott said, they're neither a cat nor a dog. They're in a completely different family of their own, but they sort of look a little bit like that, don't you? Very cool though. Right, but they've gone back to sleep. I'm going to send you back across to my friend Tristan, who is sitting with some lions.
I am indeed. I am sitting with these lions, and they're now having a little afternoon drink. So they're obviously a little bit hungry, and maybe they didn't get lunch, and it's now time to try and get some milk and to try and feed as much as possible. So you'll find that these guys are going to settle now. They all eat like this, and then once they finish feeding, you'll find that they're again going to have a really long nap, because when a little cub has got lots of milk in its tummy, then it gets very full, and it has a situation where it gets quite sleepy and quite tired. It's like us, if we have a big meal, then we like to try and find somewhere nice and comfortable, and then we have a little siesta or a little sleep. And it'll be the same for the cubs. You can see Mom, she's quite happy. She's in some shade, and so she's happy to have the cubs suckling. If she didn't want the cubs to suckle and she was uncomfortable, you'd find that she would then just growl at them and she'll get up and move somewhere else. And so she's happy for the little ones to have a little feed for now, and is completely at ease. Nasia, you're wondering if lions have teeth when they are born. Yes, they do. They have little milk teeth, is what we call them, but they are small little teeth, and they look the same as the adult teeth, but just much smaller, and they're like little needles. They're actually very sharp, and when they bite you, it hurts quite a bit. So they do have little teeth when they're born, and then they will lose those teeth and will get their adult teeth a little bit later in life. That's normally at about anywhere between sort of 10 months and a year old. That's when they get those new teeth, or their adult teeth, and those will be nice and strong and big. So they do have little teeth when they're first born. They're very small, obviously, when they're tiny cubs, but these little ones will have sharp little teeth already, and like I said, they will be quite sore, and you'll find sometimes Mom will get a bit upset. Even if they're suckling like this, every now and then they might bite her when they're trying to get more milk. So if the milk is not coming enough into their mouths, then they bite her, and then that makes the milk come a little bit more. And if they bite, it sometimes is a little too sore for the mom, and she'll then stand up and walk off. So their teeth are still very sharp, but you see how they're kind of fighting at the moment to try and find a place, because their mom only has 4 places where they can get milk from, and so they all have to push each other to try and get a spot that is comfortable. So one is on top of the other one, and you'll find that the one had to come from the other side to try and get its way in. Tatiana, you're wondering if lions' noses are wet like a dog's nose. Well, I'm not sure. I've never really stroked a lion's nose, because lions are animals that would probably in all likelihood hurt you if you tried to stroke their nose too much. But I mean, I would imagine if they've licked it, then yes, it'll be a little bit damp. But otherwise, if you look at their noses, they look as though they're quite dry most of the time. So I don't think they'd have too much of a wet nose. I think it's a situation, it's only if they've been drinking or if they've lick their nose, then it gets a little bit wet. Sometimes on cold mornings you'll find they have a little bit of a sort of sniffle, and there's a little bit of kind of stuff that comes out their nose, but most of the time their noses are quite dry. Now, Taylor, who's still driving around in the Masai Mara, has got a beautiful bird. I think it was Taylor, maybe it was Noel. No, it was Noel, sorry. I thought it was Taylor, but then I thought in my mind that Noel must be the one. But anyway, Noel is out and about, and she's got a beautiful coloured bird, and I'm sure you're all going to love just how many colours it's got.
We do indeed have a beautiful colored bird, and I hope you all love it as much as we do. It is a lilac-breasted roller. So birds in general, the habitats that they fill tend to be a vertical habitat, so an up and down habitat, because a lot of them tend to, well, they fly. Birds in general, not all birds, but in general they fly. And this one in particular is a nester inside of trees, and so the habitat that it fits is cavities. It doesn't make the hole itself. It waits for a bit of a hollowed out part to decompose, to disintegrate, to hollow out, and then lives inside of there. Now, an adaptation that this beautifully colored bird has created over time, evolutionary wise, so over many years, is he's got these beautiful colors, but the female is the exact same color. So the call that he makes is a really raucous, loud, it doesn't seem like it would suit this bird. It's kind of an ugly call, for lack of a better word, and that's to attract a female's attention, because normally with bright colors the female would see it, but females are just going to look and be like, well, you know, you look the same as I look, so what's the point? So he does this raucous call, and then the behavior that he does with that is to sort of roll in the air. That's why he's called a roller. Now, what he's doing right now is he's perching, and as we've been watching him, he's perching, and then he's turning his head to the side and turning his head to the side, because he can't see straight forward like we do. His eyes are on the side of his head. So he's turning, and then he's looking for insects that he can catch. So he's tried a couple times since we've been here. I think he at one point got one insect, but we couldn't really quite see. Haley, you're wondering how fast can this lilac-breasted roller fly? Haley, I think your guess is as good as mine. I couldn't give you the speed on this bird, but it is quite quick. It's not going to be as quick as a peregrine falcon, which I believe is one of the fastest birds dive bombing down. But it's quick. His idea of how to function isn't necessarily with speed. It's more of watching, and then a drop down with his wings spread to grab whatever insect he's going through. And I would be interested to know if possibly anyone has done any research on the speed of this bird, although I'm not sure if that's something that they would have looked into. Maybe you guys can use the Google and see if anyone's come up with something. It's a lilac-breasted roller, who's actually now perched. Chandra, you're too good. Chandra reads my mind a lot. Perched just there. Now, that tree that he's sitting on is a knobthorn tree, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's a possible nesting site somewhere in there, because I can actually see a whole cavity at the bottom of the tree. Can hear another roller in the background. I'm not quite sure if you all can. Tatiana, you're wondering if this bird is related to parrots, and oh, sorry, can everybody hear that? Could you hear that in the background? They were making their call, but I think it was a little bit too far off. Tatiana, you're wondering if the lilac-breasted roller is related to parrots, and I'm wondering if you're wondering that because of the colors. That would be my assumption there, and possibly because he's also a nester of holes in trees, similar to a parrot. So most of our parrots that we have in this part of Africa are not brightly colored. They've got a lot of brown. Let me actually show you in the book. I know that there are some parrots in South America that are brightly colored. Ours, I'll give you the brown-headed one, which is the one we have around camp and that we see the most here. Sorry, this is taking forever for some reason. So this is the brown-headed parrot. So he's got a nice green color, and there's a little bit of yellow, but in general he blends in more with his surroundings, and so he'll use his call more than his colors, unlike that lilac-breasted roller we saw. And then he's a fruit eater, and that lilac-breasted roller that we saw is an insect eater. But I do know, what's that beautiful one? Is it I don't know if a macaw is an actual parrot or a subspecies of a parrot. That'd be something I would have to look up. But I know macaws are very brightly colored. But we don't get those here. Good question though. Okay, our roller has meandered off, and Tristan is busy with some fuzzy felines. So let's head back to him and see what they're up to.
Well, they're all still resting at this stage. I suppose just Mom is up. She heard an elephant trumpet in the distance, and so she's just been listening and making sure that there's no elephants coming this way. And the reason why is because elephants are actually quite dangerous to these cubs. The cubs are still very small, and if an elephant tries to chase the females, they might be able to catch the little baby cubs, and they might hurt them, because elephants are very scared of lions, and so they try and protect themselves, and they could hurt the cubs. So that's why she's just a little bit nervous of being able to try and kind of when she hears them and making sure that she doesn't need to move her cubs. Now I can't see the elephants anymore. I saw them just now briefly when the lions were chasing the warthog. The elephants ran the other way because I think they got a fright with the lions running, and so I don't know where they are. They sound like they're very far away now. I could just hear them trumpeting way in the distance, so I don't think we're going to see them from where we are now, and I don't want to leave the lions in case they decide to move. So the lions seem as though they've gone kind of southwards and away from us at this stage. But there's Mom. You can see she's starting to fall asleep. She's very comfortable with the fact that the elephants are around. She knows that they're far now, and she doesn't have to worry too much. Also, the little cubs have all had a snack, and now you can see they're all sleeping. Aiden, you're wondering about whether lions like to can eat crocodiles, or do the crocodiles eat lions? Well, both actually. So I have seen a lion eating a crocodile, and I've also seen crocodiles eating lions. So it just depends on who is who and where they are. So a lion and a crocodile on land, it also depends obviously on the size of the crocodile and the size of the lion. But if you've got a crocodile on land, then the lion is much more likely to be able to kill the crocodile than the crocodile kill the lion. But if the lion is in water, then it's very different, because the crocodile, that's where its home is. It can swim very, very well, and the lioness or lions don't swim as well as a crocodile does, and that's when the crocodile can kill the lions. And I've actually seen a lioness with a little cub in its mouth, and a crocodile come and grab the cub out. And like I say, I've also seen a male lion carrying a crocodile in his mouth as well. So it does happen, and both of them will kill each other. It just depends on where they are. If they're in water, then it's the crocodile's place, and the crocodile generally has the upper hand, and if they're on land, then it's the lions that have the upper hand. But everybody now is going to be very sleepy, I think. I don't think we're going to see too much movement for them just yet. I think the little ones, now that they've had a meal, they're going to be quite tired, and unless something comes like warthogs again, or maybe impalas, like the little deer animal that we saw right at the beginning, or these elephants come here, I think everyone's going to try and nap. It's still very warm, so the sun is still quite high, and it means that these lions are going to wait and try and hope for the sun to go down a little bit before they actually maybe go for a little drink. And I was saying that there is water not far from us, just behind these lions, just on the other side of where the shade is. There is a little water point over there where they can get fresh water, and you'll find that they'll go drink there as the evening comes in. Ryan, the reason the males have a mane like this is for protection. And so when a male lion is in charge of a pride, he has to fight with other male lions to keep his cubs safe. And so if he gets bitten around the throat, then he's going to have a situation where it's going to hurt a lot, or could potentially kill him. And so that mane acts as a padding, so if another male bites him, it's less likely that that male will kill him by being able to get to the throat or to the heart or to the chest area. And so the mane helps with protecting those places. The other thing a mane is for is to show how big and strong he is. So basically, if he's got any females, like these females here, if he has a very small mane, then the females don't want him around. They know that he's not the biggest and the strongest, and they will leave him alone. If he's got a nice big mane and he's strong and he's healthy and it's dark, it means that he's probably one of the biggest lions in the area. And if he's the biggest lion in the area, he's good to have around, because he's going to protect them and protect the cubs when he has them. So that's why he has a mane. One is to protect himself, and two is to show all the other lions that he's a very strong, powerful animal, and that will make the females want to stay with him and also chase the other males away. Now, unfortunately, it is that time of the day where we have to say goodbye to all of you. I hope that you've had a wonderful afternoon with us and that you really enjoyed learning all about the African animals, and I hope that you're going to have a wonderful day at school because, well, I hope that there's not too much homework really, because no one really likes homework that much. And so I hope that it's a great day, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you, and hopefully we'll see you all again soon. For the rest of you, well, we continue our journey through the wilderness, and so while we sit with our lions this afternoon and see how they get on, because we've been left all by ourselves, we're going to go back to Taylor and see what she's been up to in the Mara over the last little bit.
What we've got now, earlier when you first joined us, I said to you that I thought that we had the same herd of elephants that we'd had this morning. Now I think we were maybe a little bit optimistic there. I think I was a little bit optimistic. I think this could maybe be the herd. This is pretty much in exactly the same spot, and these elephants seem to have just gone to the Mara River and come back, unless they have come and crossed the river in a section that we weren't able to get to. They're also passing a non-off-roading sign. That's what that little concrete block is. And now they're just walking past through all the cars. You are going to see a couple other vehicles. They're also enjoying the sighting with us. Hey, little one, trying to grab onto Mom's tail. Isn't that beautiful? Come on, catch up. Although I'm almost certain there were two youngsters, like really small ones, within the herd. There was a very, very casual hop, skip and a jump there from an elephant, not a movement that you tend to see so often. It is a glorious afternoon. And look at that band of light on the escarpment. Big clouds forming just behind it. That is truly beautiful. We're really lucky. We just keep catching the elephants at the right time. Well, from the sunrise safari. Hopefully this luck with the elephant does continue. I do enjoy watching them, but again, you can see there's no interaction with us and them. They ignore the cars, they walk straight past us, and that's it. And off they go. And I really, really miss it. I cannot wait to see the elephants of South Africa. It is so, so special, the relationship that the vehicles do have with those creatures, and I'm pretty sure from individual to individual, it goes down to that. I definitely have some special bonds with elephants. Well, I'm convinced that I do. That one went right under. They must have gone swimming. That doesn't look like a mud bath. It doesn't look like there's mud at all. It just looks like they're slightly on the damp side, drying out. So there were elephants that went swimming like I thought they would have been, but unfortunately just not in any spots that we could have seen them, or anywhere that or anywhere that I could have seen them, unfortunately. Sorry, we've got lots of vehicles passing us. I think everybody wants to chat to us. I'm going to have a chat with a couple of these cars, so while I talk to them, I'm going to send you back across to South Africa to Noelle, and I wonder what else she's got on the menu for this afternoon.
We have one of my favorite raptors. They tried to change the name a few years ago to the very ridiculous short-tailed eagle, which does not denote the amazingness of this battler. So we had 3. There's now just 2 in the tree. 3 together was very cool. It was also very cool because they were all in adult colors, adult plumage, I should say, but it didn't look as if there was any issues regarding sort of 2 males that were after the same female. 2 male battlers will sort of fly up in the air and then they lock talons and then sort of circle down and fight each other that way. So my feeling is that it's possibly an elder offspring, but I am just guesstimating here. I'm just throwing some ideas around and that's only because there was no interaction. I'm sure you can see that really orangey red beak and the beautiful orangey red feet and that vicious little tick, that little curl to the edge of the beak for ripping apart prey. So battler will hunt their own prey, but they're also one of the first, along with tawny eagles, to get to a carcass. Not always, but they can be, and they help rip open the carcass along with lappet-faced vultures, white-headed vultures. Although that being said, if there's no lappet-face or white-headed around, the whiteback are able to assist there a bit. I'm just amazed that they're sitting so still for us because it's really warm and it's been super cold for the past few days, so I would imagine that they would want to fly around. The other one is flying above us, but I don't know if we'll be able to catch him. No, Chandre's saying nope. He's directly above us. So no, that's not going to happen. Now, I've always been told that the name Battler means acrobat in Old French. But I've had many French guests, and when I ask them this question, they go, Noelle, what are you on about? What's potting? Have you lost your marbles? So I've read this in a couple of different books, so I'm wondering how archaic, and by archaic I mean old, that French is, or if it's possibly a word that was more of a slang term that was used. So we use a lot of slang in our everyday vocab. Now vocab, there we go. I just said one. I've said cool earlier, and it generates throughout time. So it would be interesting to know. I have not taken a linguistics class since I was at university, which feels like 100 years ago. So if there's anyone out there that's a scholar on languages who has any idea about where the name Battler came from, that would be really, really, really interesting to know. I feel like this one that... Oh, wow! Did you guys hear that? So they're watching the one that flew off above and then calling. Very neat. Very, very neat. All right, well, I sit here and ponder the evolution of languages, sitting and looking at these beautiful battlers. Tristan has a ginormous animal he would like to show you on the other side of Juma.
I do indeed. I have a little grey ghost, well, not little, big grey ghost that is just sort of going through the bushes in the background there. It's this tiny herd of elephants, just 3 of them that I can see so far. I think there's 1 or 2 more around, but there are 3 of them that are just behind the lines at the moment. They have their trunks up and they are sniffing around, but I don't think they're going to actually eventually get in this direction. The way that the wind is blowing from our left to right. So let's see, there's a young elephant coming now. You can see the lions have all popped their heads up to listen. It's going to come across the road fairly shortly. So we're going to have a situation where the elephant will pop out. It seems like a youngish elephant. I don't know. It's difficult to see. It's behind a whole bunch of bushes, but it looks like it's going to come there. It actually can just see it's feeding now. So it's decided it's not actually too worried at this stage about too much. It gave a little trumpet because of a car that came past. But there you can see the naughty trunk behind us and behind the tree. And they're just feeding at the moment. But like I said, I don't think they're going to come towards these lines. The way that the wind is blowing from north to south at the moment, which means that the wind is actually not blowing anywhere near these elephants, and I think the elephants are going to go over towards Twin Dams and just go and drink there and not really disturb these lions at all. The lions are completely unperturbed by all of this. They heard a little trumpet and it obviously wakes them up because they want to see if they're the ones going to be chased. But at the end of the day, when they see that it's an elephant just walking past, they're not really too worried about it at all. But you can definitely see that some of the young ones are still interested and still want to watch and have a little look around, and once they've seen that it's a youngish elephant and it's not an elephant that they need to worry about, then you'll find a situation where they all go back to sleep and take it very easy. But how cool is this? We've got lions, we've got elephants, and like I say, there was a sighting of a leopard not far from here a little bit earlier in the day, and so who knows, maybe a leopard arrives in the chaos of this afternoon as well, and we'll just get it all happening. It was ridiculous because as we saw that, there comes the elephant that I was talking about. You can see it's looks like a young boy that a young female, should I say, sorry about that is just popped out. And so it's a small grouping. I wonder if it's maybe not Short Trunk's herd. I didn't actually look at the female, well, the big female in the group very carefully, but maybe it is Short Trunk's herd. I know Short Trunk is obviously 4 individuals, and it's the very small one and then goes up from there, and that would be about the same as what I saw crossing the road. So maybe it is Short Trunk's herd. I honestly didn't pay enough attention to the lead female. She was kind of behind the others, and I was watching the smaller ones actually, if I'm honest, and so maybe, just maybe, it is her herd. It would be nice to have them, but like I said, to have these guys all together in the same place, it just goes to show you on a hot day where you've got water, it is the best place to be. So even though we had some rain over the last 2 days, the rain that we have had is just so little that it's not enough to really have filled up any of the small little wallows. It was only about 4 millimeters of rain, and so all it did was just kind of make everything a bit damp, but it actually hasn't done anything in the way of being able to fill up water points, and so animals are still being drawn to these bigger water sections like twin dams to be able to find water and to be able to sustain themselves in hot weather like this. And it's amazing to have, well, both lions and elephants back. It's been a long time since we've had either one of them, and particularly together. It's been a very long time since I've seen Ellies and lions in the same sighting or the same place in Juma. Now the Styx cubs, it's interesting. I've just been sitting and looking at them and just thinking about how they look and whether or not they're getting better or not. I feel like they are still got signs of mange, but they definitely are looking a little bit better than what they did maybe 2-3 months ago. 2-3 months ago they didn't look that fantastic. There's one or two of them that still looks a bit kind of mangy, but the others are all starting to heal a little bit. So there are scabs on them, and you do see a bit of scabbing on their joints and particularly around their sort of armpit areas and around their ears, but they are healing a lot better than what I thought they would be, and they're looking a lot better than I thought. So nice to actually see, and nice to be able to work out that they, as long as we get a bit of rain and some moisture in the air, it seems as though they will eventually be able to sort themselves out, and that mange will slowly but surely disappear. Now, in terms of sexing of all these cubs, I'm still not 100% sure of the sex of all of them. I mean, it's difficult, particularly with the little ones. It's really quite tough unless they lie with their backs to us and we can see just underneath their tail. And it's going to be very, very tough to be able to sex them. Now, I actually also forgot earlier when we first started, well, I don't know if Taylor reminded you, but you can remember that we are back into normal show now, so you can use hashtag Safari Live or YouTube chat if you do want to ask any questions. It's great to have the Styx Pride back, and like I say, the reason why it's good to have them is because the Nkuhuma Pride has been so non-existent, and they've been moving out of our area and having a situation where they haven't really been spending too much time on Juma. And so to have a pride that's kind of back in this area and to have small cubs means that hopefully we're going to see a lot more of them over the next little bit. Now, while I sit with my sleepy kitties, I'm hoping that Scotty D, who's had just the most ridiculous 24 hours with his spotted cats, and I believe he's still with them, still hoping, and I'm sure there will be a little bit more action before his day is finished as a good send-off before he goes home.
We certainly have had a ridiculous 24 hours, and it looks like the ridiculousness may continue. That's Mom giving her boy a good old clean, and while their heads are together, you'll notice two things. He's got a kind of hairy, fluffy mane, and his head is also considerably larger than hers. They've both been taking turns to groom one another. He licks her, she licks him, and these are all very good signs that they are getting ready for business. Finally. She's been sitting up and looking around, but if I was her, I wouldn't know which direction to head in, because there's nothing in the form of prey that's very close. Now, of course, I don't know how far she can see and how well she can see over long distances, but there is definitely some general game around, but it's probably going to be a 5 or 10 minute walk before she gets to anything. That is, of course, unless she flushes a reed buck or a scrub hare or a young fawn that's been tucked away in the grass on the way to the bigger herds. There is a chance of that happening. First, though, we need them to get up, but at least these are very, very promising signs that they are, in fact, thinking about getting on the move. It's quite common for cats to groom either themselves or one another before they start their session. I guess you can't say day or evening. Hi Jake, you'd like to know if any of these animals have kind of a set route that they like to patrol. Very few animals that I've ever come across have got set routes. You get some individuals that like certain areas, but they definitely will not travel on a set route. Otherwise, it would it would certainly make our lives very easy with regards to finding them. But especially the case with female cheetahs, they're not even bound to a territory, so they will be more fluid than most of the female big cats. They can go wherever their wind blows them, essentially. Where are you thinking of taking us this afternoon, Miale? Come on. Make up your mind. Yes. Your son is urging you for some more food, even though you fed him a topi this morning. It looks like he wants some more. What a beautiful scene. He's got a very distinctive scar across his nose, so that's going to help us in keeping track of him when she does move away from her. Hello, Zero. You would like to know if a zebra is too big for a cheetah to take down. Well, the musketeers have managed to bring one down. I think Brent was with them when they pulled one down late one night. And I guess, yeah, coalitions of cheetahs may try and take down, or at least the male coalitions. You don't get female coalitions, but just to be clear, it's the males that will more commonly, I think, hunt zebra than the females. I think zebra, even a foal, is going to be quite big, and the fact that the parents will often fight back will be a deterrent to female cheetah. But then again, I haven't spent enough time with these beasts to know categorically that females will not hunt zebra, and I'm sure from time to time they have. But I don't think that that is going to be on the menu for them this afternoon. Especially considering here they do have an abundance of prey, be it other antelope or youngsters at different times of the year. So maybe you get some areas where the cheetah don't have much suitable prey, where they have to specialize in bigger things like zebra. But here, I don't think that is the case. Oh, well, there's some exciting stuff potentially happening across with Tristan, so why don't you go and see what happens?
Well, the elephants have changed direction altogether now, and they are slowly but surely kind of moving towards us. Whether or not they're going to get to where we are, I don't know. They're kind of just feeding along at the moment, but if they hold the line that they've been walking from when they played around in the mud, they'll walk straight into this pride. And the lionesses have all kind of gotten up at one point and just looked over their shoulders and are watching. There's been a few yawns, so I don't know if we're going to see a situation where maybe the lionesses decide, hang on, these elephants are now getting a bit close and we're just going to scamper off and try and get these cubs out of here. So there's definitely a situation where it could be sort of a chase happen between the elephants chasing the lions, and we'll just have to see. If the elephants start to turn a little bit more and come to us, then we might have a situation where it'll just explode into all-out chaos. But for now, it seems as though everything's still quite sedate. You can see all the adult lionesses are the ones that are up at the moment. The cubs are fairly sleepy. Tinyo is still fast asleep, but you've got a situation where all of the three females are up and looking and just checking and making sure. So they know that elephants are potentially dangerous. They've just checked over their shoulder. They heard the crunching. They heard the movement of bushes, and they're making 100% sure that the distance between them and where the ellies are is safe and that they don't have a problem. At this distance that we're at now, everything is okay. It's not an issue at all. The ellies are feeding. They're not in any way sort of aware that these lions are right here as close as they are, because I can tell you if elephants knew that these lions were as close as they are, they certainly wouldn't have any of it, and they would have been already here trying to trumpet and chase. So the ellies are unaware. The wind is blowing the right direction for the ellies to completely not know that these lions are here, and so the lions are just watching them just to make sure that if they do turn, they're going to have a situation where they don't get kind of themselves into trouble and they can look after the rest of the pride. And also what it might trigger is, because these ellies are around, it might trigger these lions to decide, okay, well, hang on, there's lots of elephants around, let's rather just stand up and march ourselves out of here and get away from this area anyway. So we might see a situation where they are going to just wake up. There's been a lot of yawning of these front two females, so you can see they also got their noses into the wind, and what we see with lions is often when they wake up is this is what they do. They put their nose up and they sniff and they smell and they try and pick up the scent that is on the wind to be able to know which direction they're going to go. The good thing for us, you see there's a bit of yawning, and like I say, yawning is often an indicator of them starting to wake up. But the good thing for us is the way that the wind is blowing, this should pull these lions deeper into Juma. And the reason why I say that is lions very seldom like to walk with the wind blowing from them forwards. They like to have the wind blowing into their face, and the reason why is because as they're going along, obviously if it's blowing over their shoulders, then of course it's making a situation where their scent is blowing forward, and any animal that's in front of them knows that they're coming, so they like to have it blowing into their face. And so if the wind is coming from the north, it's going to hopefully drive them to head further north. I see there's another elephant that's up on the dam wall now, just moving along, so maybe their general direction will be back towards the dam. I'm not sure. They're kind of just ambling around all over the place at the moment, and it just looked like they were starting to come in this direction. And I think if they break this little thicket that they're behind at the moment, they might be able to spot these lions. And the problem with that is if they do spot these lions and they come from where they are now, they're going to chase these lions straight south over the boundary, and unfortunately we're not going to be able to follow them any further. So let's hope that the elephants move the other direction. Let's see. They are starting to move slowly. Well, good afternoon and welcome to this action broadcast. We've got a incredible scene unfolding. So we've got these beautiful elephants that are just coasting through the bush, and there's only a small herd of them, so there's only a few adults and a couple young ones, but in front of these elephants is a whole pride of lions that is lying and watching them. Now I was wondering if the Ellies might come towards us, because if the Ellies do and they pick up the scent of the lions, it's going to be all pandemonium is going to break loose, because these elephants will not be tolerant of lions being in this area. You can see the Ellies are actually moving away now, which is fairly good news, I suppose, because ultimately we don't want the elephants really to be chasing this pride of lions, because they've got tiny small cubs with them at the moment, and obviously the small cubs are they're in a lot of danger actually with something like an elephant. So these little cubs that you see that are fast asleep at the moment and completely unaware of the elephants that are around them are still taking it very easy. But if the elephants come this way, because they're so small, an elephant would probably be able to outrun a little cub like that and be able to get to it. So it's why the females of the pride are all up at the moment. They're all watching very carefully and making sure that they keep an eye on those elephants. The elephants were angling towards them, but now that the elephants have kind of dropped down towards where there's a little bit of water on the other side, and then we're going to see a situation where the lions might start to go back to sleep a little bit. You can see the eldest female, she's on the right there. You'll notice she's got quite a scarred muzzle at the moment, and so that's all from age and from being out here, as well as the fact that she's got a mite infection at the moment, but that will eventually pass. She'll groom that out, and it's going to be interesting to see whether or not we're going to have a situation where these lions are going to be chased or they're going to just meander off. I think we're going to see a situation where the lions basically might stand up and just move away from these elephants. Ultimately, they know an elephant is far stronger than what they are, and so it's going to be much easier for them to give way and to move out of the area than to take on elephants. But you see this lioness in front, she's starting to yawn now, and yawning is often a sign, an indication that lions might think about moving. So when they're yawning like that, they're getting oxygen into their body, they're getting their blood to start moving, and it just gets rid of all the kind of lactic acid buildup and the stiffness that builds up over time and sleeping for such long periods, because lions will obviously sleep for a long period during the day, particularly the hot part of the day, and so that means that it's a sign that maybe, just maybe, she's thinking about getting up and moving. The other thing is that the sun has changed slightly, and that means that these lions are starting to get hit a little bit by it, and they probably might shift into the shade a little bit. So, Jan, you say you're glad the Ellies are going the other way because, well, you're worried about the little cubs and you want these little cubs to survive. Well, exactly. I think it's a situation where it's on both sides. At the end of the day, those elephants also have a small baby with them, and so lions could potentially be quite dangerous to a young baby elephant in a small herd. You might find that the lions try their luck, although the lions here in the Sabi Sands in South Africa, they don't really like to go after elephants too much. They know it's very dangerous, so the danger is more with the lions. And at the end of the day, if these elephants did charge here, this could be a situation where something could happen. But you see both lionesses now yawning, both of them are putting their nose up. There's a wind that has just started to kick up, and so I wonder if they're not going to decide to start moving, and potentially we're going to see them maybe starting to go on an afternoon hunt. They are quite skinny, so they are looking as though they could go for food, and so maybe it's going to be a situation that they're going to decide to leave this area where these elephants are and start moving off and heading more towards where there's a possible food item. Now, I don't know, I thought I spotted something on the other side there that might be a antelope of some sort, but there is some antelope that are also on the other side where the elephants disappeared, so maybe they'll head in this direction. Now, Arbeard, you want to know, would the lioness fake charge at an elephant to be able to try and draw attention away from the cubs? Most certainly. So if those elephants came charging in, the lioness might be quite brave and to try and just get in front of the cubs and buy them some time to scatter and try and find a hiding place of their own. The cubs' instinct will be immediately is to run. As soon as they see any sign of danger running at them, they'll watch their mother's body language, and if they see their mothers reacting, their immediate instinct is to run and to try and find a thicket somewhere to try and get in. The thing is, though, would be very interesting to see what the male lion's reaction would be, because there's a big male lion just off to our left-hand side who's sleeping in the bush, and with the elephants coming in and his cubs obviously being a part of this, he might also be quite brave and stand up, and that might be enough to turn the elephants and to get the elephants just to slow down and stop a little bit, and the pride can then lead all of these youngsters away. The thing is, though, also with this particular pride is that these Styx females, which is the pride that we're with, these three have been around for a long time. These are all fairly older lionesses, and so they would have dealt with elephants many times, and it's why it's amazing to watch them, because when the elephants were 150 meters away, the whole pride was down and sleeping and resting. But as soon as they got to a situation where the elephants started to come closer, the females immediately put their heads up, and they knew that they need to be far more alert now and be awake and watch what's going on. But I was saying just now that I did see an antelope species moving in the distance, so I'm not sure if they're going to start moving in this direction. Hopefully they will. I reckon that there might be some sort of action that will take place at some point this afternoon, so we're going to end our Facebook Live for now, or our action broadcast, should I say, and we're going to sit with this pride, and if anything does happen, we'll be sure to jump back in as soon as possible. But for now, I think we're just going to sit and wait it out and see how everything goes. Right, so that was our action broadcast. It didn't turn out quite the way I thought it would. I thought the Ellies might turn a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's okay. They at least have gone down to the water, and there are kudus and waterbuck that I think I can see in the distance, and so maybe these lionesses will get up and move again a bit later, and we might see some sort of interesting behavior out of them. But while we sit with the lions and see what they get up to, I believe Noelle has made her way towards Chitwa Dam, which should be a hive of activity in the beautiful afternoon heat like we're experiencing today.
We are indeed at Chitwa Dam, and it is indeed a beautiful afternoon. Beautiful pan. You can see Chitwa Lodge there. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. It's a little bit windy, but it's so nice and warm. So we've had quite the hubbub of bird life. We did just have some oxpeckers on top of these hippos' heads, but it seems as if they've gone away. Yes, no, maybe so. Oh, did you see the tiny... Gendre's found the tiny baby. No, Gendre, you were totally right. There's the older one. But Gendre, where you were before, I'm pretty sure there's a tiny baby right next to that mum. Oh, and now she's gone down. That's okay. We'll keep an eye out. Sorry, I was looking at the monitor, and then I realized that hippo has like half a head attached to its actual head. But these older youngsters have been busy playing around by this stump. So it's a little bit hard to see. Obviously it's underwater, but then just in general, there's actually a little island under there, which is one of the reasons why the hippos go there. So they're standing and resting on that little teeny island, and then bobbing up and down and up and down. So we see hippos quite a lot on our show, but hippos are very, very interesting. I think my two favorite things about hippos, one is that they lose the most moisture out of their skin than any other mammal, which is one of the reasons why they're adapted to water. And then the other fact I actually learned from Steph about 2 months ago, about their ability to hear underwater through their bottom jaw. So I knew that they could communicate under the water. I just, for some reason, hadn't really gone farther than that, and so that was very interesting to learn. So I'm passing on my knowledge to you. Some of you will know it already, some it might be new. Gendre, there's some beautiful impala that are coming to our 9 o'clock with some beautiful light down for a drink. I don't know if maybe we want to do a bit, and a lot of them are super preggers. Trist saw an impala lamb, I want to say about 10 days ago. And yes, hello. She's very pregnant, and now the ewes are starting to show more and more and more. This light is absolutely superb. So viewers, if you were ever going to do a screenshot of impala, this is where I would do it. James, you're wondering if I can see the little crocs. I'm on the northern side of the dam, James, and the little crocs are on the southern side of the dam. So I think after we're done with our section over here, I will definitely head that way and see if we can see our hatchlings. Notice how nervous they get coming down to the water, checking. They don't want to get eaten by a crocodile. And shame, some of the really pregnant ones are having trouble bending down. Look at her. And see how they make each other nervous. It's also the wind. So as they're getting down to have a drink, the wind's coming past and taking away their hearing and their smell. And even though they have eyes and they can see, having their hearing and smell taken away makes them super, super nervous. That's a really beautiful scene. Notice our blue sky with hardly any clouds. Oh, the sunshine is most welcome. It's put everybody in a very happy-go-lucky mood today. It's going to take them a little while to figure out where they want to drink. And it's going to take that one going first to actually get the others to do it. We chatted a bit about it, I believe it was yesterday, with the allolumetic behavior, the copycat behavior. One's braving it. One young male is braving it. No, he got chased away by an older male. That older male there chased him off. So shame, I feel a little bit bad for the young males because not only do they have to worry about crocodiles possibly coming to get them, they have to worry about older males coming up from behind and trying to be dominant and push them off and possibly get injured by their own kind. That is really gorgeous. There's your screenshot, everybody. Stunning. I'm obsessed with this light right now. So you'll hear me talk about quite a bit light from time to time. I'm not a professional photographer. I am an amateur photographer, but I definitely have a love of photographing the wildlife that I'm so fortunate to see every day. So playing with light and textures and setting scenes like this, my photographer's brain is going, oh my goodness gracious. It's absolutely gorgeous. So Tristan has some amazing interactions that are happening over by him. So let's head back and see what we can see.
Well, there you go. You can see the Ellies are just going back now, so they have completely missed these lions by meters, and they have no idea the lions are here. Look, you can see the way that they're moving. They have not picked up those lions at all. So mother is leading her young calf away, and here at the back is a sub-adult. Now, it's interesting watching these lionesses because they're almost sort of second guessing this, because that's a fairly small elephant that is walking quite close here. They're kind of looking at it as if to say, well, I wonder if it was possible. And I reckon if we had more than just the 3 adult females and maybe one more or more of the Birminghams, there might be a situation when they might have actually tried their luck and maybe chased one of these elephants. It would be very, very, very unique, particularly in the Sabi Sands, because I haven't seen it in the Sabi Sands before with them actively chasing elephant herds. I've seen a situation where hyenas have chased elephant herds here in the Sabi Sands, but not lions yet. And a small pride, particularly like this, that has got lots of young cubs, I don't think that would be the case. But that elephant is not far at all. I would say in total, from where the lions are, we're looking at maybe 10, 15 meters, maybe a little bit more than that. But there it comes out. You see, it's right behind the lions, and the elephants have no idea that these lions are here. Now you can imagine, look, you see the lioness is losing her nerve a little bit, which is scaring the cubs. You see the cubs are all going to get up, and they're going to follow the lionesses. So they've realized, hang on a second, something's not quite right, and so they know as soon as mom walks like that, it's time to get up and go. And so it's amazing how quickly they pick up on the cues and the little airs and graces of a female, and they'll all get up and move. The elephants obviously are moving in a different direction. Tinyo has finally woken up. Well, welcome to the party, Tinyo. A bit late, young man. He doesn't look too perturbed, does he? He's going to flop back down again over there. The good news is that it's at least the lions are starting to push northwards a little bit. So they, instead of going south, they are pushing northwards because of the ellies going in this direction, which is great news for us. But there we go, as everybody's waking up. Once the ellies are gone, I think we're going to see a situation where they'll head towards Twin Dams for a drink. Right, now that our ellies are kind of moving southwards, I think we're going to sit, and like I say, with our lions for a little bit longer and just see where they head to. I think they might go for a drink, and while we do that, let's go back to Scotty D, who's got a beautiful view of those spotted cats in the Mara sunset.
Hello everyone, sorry, my earpiece is causing trouble. I was busy putting my shoes and socks back on. Had them off for the majority of the day. It's been quite hot today, but it's getting chillier now that the sun is beginning to set behind the Olololo escarpment. We thought we were going to get lucky. It looked like they were about to take us on a stroll, but shortly after that, they plonked themselves down and appeared to be enjoying the sunset. And what a wonderful view this is. And this will, in all likelihood, be... I guess we may actually find some cheetah tomorrow, but this could well be the last time that I have the joy of spending some wonderful moments with these incredible cats before I head back down south to Juma, which I'm very excited about. I cannot wait for a change of scenery. As much as I love the Mara, Juma, as you all know, is a very, very special place. And hopefully, by the time I come back, this lady might be pregnant, or who knows, maybe would have even just given birth to some tiny new cubs. I'm looking forward to seeing some cheetah cubs and sharing those moments with you. Haven't been very lucky with cheetah cubs in the last 4 months, but that's bound to change with this female. She'll be getting rid of her boy soon, as will Malaika. And that is something that we can all look forward to. Wonderful. Now, there is a chance that my earpiece is completely fried, so Kirsty, if you don't mind just speaking quite a bit, and Manu just let me know if she is actually saying anything, so we can establish if I do in fact have comms. I got that. It's just coming through softer than normal, but I didn't get anything earlier. Hello, I think Dana or Yana, just 14 years old. You'd like to know if it's more common for cheetah to have male or female cubs. And it will eventually balance out. So it should be that there's an equal amount of boys and girls being born, but you may find that just through luck or default, just like with us as humans, some families have got 3 or 4 boys or 3 or 4 girls and none of the other. So it will all balance itself out, otherwise there wouldn't be enough boys and girls to make the next generations of cheetah. So at the moment though, I've been thinking to myself, it seems like it's boy heavy, but I mean, I guess I'm just taking in 2 cheetah, Malaika, and this individual Miale. They've got 3 boys between them, but there are also Amani's daughters, or Imani's daughters rather. So there were 2 girls that are actually quite young, but still going about business on their own. They left their mother's side a few months ago, at just 14 months of age, so they left home earlier than expected. What has she seen? She has seen something that she likes the look of. I need to turn the car around. So we too can try and work out what it is. You saw the way she just all of a sudden started looking very, very intently out in this direction. So, oh, and now they're moving. Okay. Hold on, everyone. There's been an unexpected twist of events here. Now, what I need to do is get myself around into the area that they are thinking of moving to. We also need to try and work out what exactly they have seen. Now what I don't want to do is chase any possible prey away, so I'm just going to be driving very, very slowly, but quick enough to get ourselves into a position. I'm guessing it could be a reedbuck. The reedbuck like hiding out in these little thickets that follow the riverbeds, and they sleep there during the day and tend to come out at night. They're quite a nocturnal antelope, which is interesting because there's not too many that are like that. What have they seen? Yeah, I'm constantly. Which way? And also just keep an eye on the cheetah. What have they spotted? Sorry, Kirst, I'm not copying anything, man, or you're just gonna have to relay things to me, hey? Okay, cool. I can't work out what they've seen, but they have to have seen something for their body language to have changed the way it did. I find it hard not to believe that they're just imagining things. So let's take a closer look at them. I mean, unless they possibly heard something, that is the other alternative, but they seem to have seen something. Well, they're definitely creeping up to this thicket, and looking back, it looks like the vehicle that was in that sighting with us has got some kind of a problem. I'm guessing it looks like they're stuck, so that's what the cheetah were looking back at. Now be ready for anything. A reedbuck or anything could come charging out of these thickets with the cheetah following closely behind them. Oh. I thought the cheetah just lay down, but she didn't, so that's the good news. Now, they may have seen the reedbuck move into this little thicket, and now are slowly making their way towards it in the hope that they may be able to flush it. And I'm feeling confident that we are going to get lucky here. I'm almost wondering